All right, everybody, welcome into the High Noon stream, the first of two streams that I, Pugs Moran, do each and every day here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. This one, High Noon, we cover trending topics, headlines, current events, pop culture, all the things that people are buzzing about. Try to give you just a little bit of a cheat sheet on what's actually happening today. Hold on, I seem to have something on my glasses. Got a little smooch on my glasses. While I do this, I'll tell you about the second stream. We call that Pillow Talk. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. That comes on 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday evenings. That's Monday through Thursday evenings at 9 p.m. And is that better? All right, that might be better. That's a little bit more conversational. Whereas this show is, I like to say, it's a utilitarian project on my behalf. It's designed to make sure that all the things that are happening in the world that people are talking about, that are not political, that are not divisive, that do not have anything to do with anything that's, culture wars or stupid stuff like that. Although occasionally within the realm of what's termed as culture wars, sometimes we can't avoid it, but we try to take an even hand with it all because everybody's a moron these days. Everybody but us, everybody but those of us who are gathered here in the room. And at the moment, that includes me and Byron. Apparently that's it. It's a slow go today, building up in the chat room. Come on, people. I got a whole big show for you. So here's the deal. There's a lot going on. I've got a lot of stuff here that I want to cover on the show. But I'm thinking, because there's one story in particular that I really want to get into. And I don't even know that I want to get into it. I don't know if that's the way to frame it properly. I want to watch it. And that is, of course, Johnny Depp on the stand. He's been on the stand all morning long. He's been on the stand all morning in the Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp slander lawsuit, whatever. Okay, so a little back it up for you. Amber Heard and Johnny Heard. John Heard was an actor, but no relation to Amber. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp were married. They got divorced. It was a crazy marriage between two completely weirdo people, and it didn't work out. What a surprise. And so they got divorced, and there were all kinds of terrible accusations being thrown at Johnny Depp from Amber Heard back during the divorce. So when the divorce was settled, they sat down with their lawyers, of course, because I don't think these two can. Trust me, after what I've heard today, these two cannot be in a room alone. So they sat down with their lawyers and they hammered out a deal. They said, look, okay, this is over. This deal is over. Let's both go our separate ways. Neither of us talk about any of this nonsense anymore, because all of the accusations that we've been throwing at each other in this divorce trial over the past few months, it's not going to be good for business. Not going to be good for your business. Not going to be good for my business. Okay. So they signed an agreement that said that they wouldn't talk about this stuff anymore. And again, remember, they've been divorced now since I think 2016. So last year, this is my own little editorial. Seemingly an attempt to capitalize on the Me Too movement, Amber Heard gave a series of interviews in the Washington Post, and I believe in London as well. But this case is about the Washington Post, where she talked about being the victim of abuse, and she essentially violated the agreement that her and Johnny and the lawyers came up with that said, you can't talk about this stuff anymore. Now, she never said the name Johnny Depp, but it was like everybody knew she was talking about Johnny Depp. And in light of that, Johnny Depp lost a whole bunch of work, man. He got dropped from the Fantastic Beasts. He just lost. He hadn't made a big Hollywood movie since. So Johnny Depp is pissed, and he's like, that's it. I'm suing you for violation of this agreement. So that's what this trial is about. This trial is about Johnny Depp going, hey, she agreed not to say anything. And then she gave an interview to the Washington Post. And because of that interview, I have lost all of this work and everybody thinks I'm a dirtbag. So I want to readdress all this stuff. So that's what's happening in this trial. And Johnny Depp for the last 2 days has been on the stand. Oh, airing some dirty laundry. And it is compelling. Yesterday was fantastic. Yesterday, I thought, man, well, I guess he's going back tomorrow. He can't have anything else to talk about. Today has been 10 times better than yesterday. She cut his finger off. She put cigarettes out on his face. He's got the pictures. He's in the emergency room with all of these things. Oh my God. Johnny Depp is just sitting on witness stand and he's talking about all of the abuses that he took. And I just want to go in depth on this. So here's what now they're in they're not a commercial break. They're in a lunch break. They're in a lunch break for an hour. And then Johnny Depp, I'm going to be taking the stand after I go outside and smoke my lunch. And that's pretty much what he's probably going to do. If you're out in front of the courthouse right now in Washington, D.C., you can probably see Johnny Depp just out there chain smoking. So he's coming back in an hour. And I want to watch that with you guys. I want to wait to really get into all the stuff that we've heard so far until he's back on the stand. Because it's crazy. It is crazy. And it has so much to do with the way, I talk a lot on this show. In my days of therapy and working through some of my garbage, a couple of the things that we've discussed, me working on personally and getting control of, are sense of ego and resisting programming. Programming things that I do thoughtlessly that I just seem to believe are what's expected of one. This situation that we are seeing unfold on a witness, this deals with both of those things. So I really want to share it with you. So maybe around 1:00, I'm thinking maybe 1:10 or so, we will end this show. Okay. And then I will reschedule another show for like a minute later. It'll just be like a minute or two bump. It'll be like going to a commercial break. And then I will start another show that is specifically a Johnny Depp on the stand watch party. I just think that's going to be, it's going to be great. Get your popcorn. So look, I got a little time to work that out. We'll figure it out. We'll see how we do it. All right, now we go. Here we go. We got Adam. It's so nice to have Adam back. Adam says Adam says he made over $650 million in his career. He's fine. He blew a lot. Johnny Depp's an idiot. He blew a lot of that money. He is not, well, yes, you're right. I'm not going to argue with you on that, Adam, because among the normal folk, he is fine. But, when he looks at the mountain of cash he used to have versus the foothill of cash that he has now, where most of us just have gullies of debt. So, he is fine. You're right. He is fine. But that doesn't speak to, that's just a monetary argument about this. Oh, and I don't want to get into this because I want to have all of these conversations, later with you guys as we watch it. And there are other things that I want to talk about. So I don't want to get distracted. But yeah, certainly if you're the type of person that only sees the world through a lens of monetary value, then yeah, you're right. He's not going to be a poor guy. He's going to be fine. But there are more existential issues at stake here. There are more things going on in this trial that speak to much larger issues of cultural awareness and the way that we're all, like I said, I'll go into it, programmed to believe certain things over other. It's at the very least, regardless of whether or not we find common ground on how we feel about these particular statements that he's making, it's some compelling stuff, man. It is some crazy compelling stuff. Okay. All right. So let's get into what we do here on High Noon. What we like to do is we go through all the things that are trending. Johnny Depp is trending. And by the way, I was kind of shocked by this. At least from yesterday to today, there ain't nobody on Team Amber Heard. It is just 100%. Well, probably not 100%, but you know what I'm saying? It is overwhelmingly pro Johnny Depp. And, there are ways to make that appear to be the case. But, I've been, it seems pretty random. I'm not one that is easily subjected to what is an obvious public manipulation. And I'm sure that he's got a team of people and publicists who are manipulating certain threads and all that kind of stuff. But no. I'm just... And I followed it in 2016. I'm fairly up to speed on what all the allegations were that she levied at him. And this is the first time that he's really said, okay, it's time for me to tell the truth. And holy cow. Anyway, we'll get into that. Also, what do we do here? Oh, yeah, this show runs on your donations and your tips. Thank you to John. John helped out last night. That's wonderful. We are still very, very slow making our money for this month. So if you feel like you want to tip the show, if you enjoy the show, if you appreciate it, please, you can any number of those ways down there. You can see the Cash App, the Venmo, and all of that. I hate pitching like that, but this is the modern world, and this is how these things go down. So all of your tips and your help is appreciated in the continued streaming of these two shows that we do each and every day. All right, today is April the 20th. It is the 110th day of the year. 255 days remain until the end of the year. Let's figure out what today is. Let's pull up the National Day calendar. This is the stupidest part of the show. Well, I shouldn't make that promise because trust me, if I'm involved, there's high likelihood that more stupidity will come your way. It's National Banana Day. Banana Day. Bump, banana. Banana Day. Bump. I love bananas. Moving on. It's National Cheddar Fry Day. National Cheddar Fry Day. I also love cheddar fries. Can't have cheddar fries. More likely to have a banana today than a cheddar fry, although I don't have any bananas, so I probably won't be celebrating appropriately either of these days. Cheddar fries, I have a one of my most provocative food hot takes is that bacon does not belong on cheeseburgers. Terrible. I believe bacon ruins a cheeseburger. That does not stand with cheddar fries. Cheddar fries with sprinkled bacon on top and some onions and maybe some scallions. Oh, you kidding me? That's how you do cheddar. I believe those are known as loaded cheddar fries, but still very good. It's National Lima Bean Respect Day. Respect the lima bean, a-hole. I like lima beans. I have lima beans. I have lima beans here. I am far more likely to eat lima beans today than I am cheddar fries or a banana. So, that's me. How about you? It's National Lookalike Day. Luckily, for everybody else, I don't look like anybody. I don't nobody's ever said, you look like, I don't. I've never gotten that. I am so uniquely ugly or weird looking, or I don't know, just not, and I've had people say, you're not that bad. Why do you think I'm like, well, you don't see what I see in the mirror. So, that might be a whole lot of my inside processing of what the outside reality is. I don't know, but whatever. So National Look Like. Who do you look like? Tell me in the chat room. Nah, don't bother. That's stupid. It's National Pineapple Upside Down Cake Day. Another thing that I won't be having. Another thing that I am not going to be enjoying today on my diet. Although, to be fair, probably wouldn't enjoy. I mean, it's cake, right? Cake, any kind of cake. It doesn't matter what kind. I like pound cake, which is the most entry level cake that there is. I guess sponge cake might be the most entry level cake. So all cake is good, but I don't know. And I love pineapple. Pineapple is this is a part of my curse. This is like God plays tricks on me. Pineapple is my favorite flavor on the planet. For some reason, the flavor, the smell, everything about pineapple I love. And why do I say God plays tricks on me? Because although I love it, I'm allergic to it. Can't have it. Can't have it. Nothing tears my stomach up quite like pineapple. I eat a piece of pineapple and I will have ridiculous heartburn and stomach pains for 24 hours. I can't do it. You know how I have to eat here's how I do it. Oranges similarly, and I love oranges too, but I have to pound, like before I put a piece of pineapple in my mouth, I have to eat like half a bottle of Tums. That's the rule. I will do that because I'm a masochist. I will buy pineapple. If you see pineapple in my grocery cart, you're also going to see a bottle of Tums because it's like peanut butter and jelly to me. Tums and pineapple. It's the only way. And of course, it's 420 Day, which we'll get into. God, I hate this day. 420, man. I hate it. And I'll get into why I hate it. 1496 on this day. We like to go back in history. Typically don't go back this far, but this is kind of cool. I saw this and I went, oh, that's interesting. That happened on this day. 420. Cool, man. Now, on this day in 1496, after his return from the New World, Christopher Columbus entered the court of his sponsors, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And he told them about all the stuff he saw. Told him about all the diseases he spread. Told him about all the people he killed. Didn't tell him he got lost. He stuck with the India story. He wasn't about to do that. He wasn't about to tell him that all the money they gave, he made a wrong turn somewhere. But, ultimately, for us anyway, it worked out fine. On this day in 1657, here's another old school one. On this day in 1657, the freedom of religion is granted to Jews in New Amsterdam of the New World. New Amsterdam is, of course, New York City, changed the name. Freedom of religion granted to Jews in New Amsterdam, New York, on this day in 1657. And, as history will tell us, the Jews had no more problems. It fixed everything. Everything was fine for the Jews from that point forward. On this day in 1861, the American Civil War, not since McLean Stevenson walked off MASH for bigger and better things has there been a worse career move. Robert E. Lee resigned his commission in the United States Army in order to command the forces of the state of Virginia. Womp womp. Yeah, you'd like to have that one back, I'm sure. 1898, U.S. President William McKinley signed a joint resolution to Congress for the declaration of war against Spain. That's right. On this day, the Spanish-American War started. That's one of them wars we just in school, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you were different. We just skipped over that one, didn't we? Then we were like, okay, a revolution, Civil War, no mention of the Spanish-American War. Straight into the Depression, or World War I, straight into the Depression, straight into World War II, and then Vietnam, like half of Vietnam. We got like half. We didn't get the full story on Vietnam because by that time in the school year, it was like June and nobody's paying attention anyway, and school was out. All right, and then we came back the next year for history, and it started all over again. Went back to the revolution, and we just never got any. I wonder how they're doing that now. I wonder if kids are getting into the war in Iraq. I don't know. We didn't even get through Vietnam. 'Cause you're old. Well, thank you, schizophrenic me. I am. You're always there to point out my foils, my frailties, my shortcomings. Let's see. On this day in 1961, the Cold War, big Cold War event on this day in 1961. The Bay of Pigs invasion failed. That's right. It started 2 days ago, and by this day, April the 20th, 1961, they were like, that didn't work out. That didn't. Woo. What's all? Well, that's all. You know that meme that you see on social media of Homer just kind of disappearing back into the bushes. Oh yeah, never mind. That's kind of how we felt about the Bay of Pigs invasion as a nation. On this day in 1999, Columbine High School massacre. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold killed 13 people and injured 24 others before committing suicide at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado. That I remember watching it. I remember how horrifying it was. I remember the live, raw footage of what was going on in Columbine. I have an additional perspective because I briefly dated a girl who was at Columbine when that happened. Yeah. How crazy is that? She was like a junior in high school when that happened, and she was evacuated. She was one of the people in that group of people that you saw being let out one after another. Yeah, freaky. Terrible. And as we know, there were no more school shootings after Columbine in 1991. It's still, even with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, or is it Marjorie Douglas Stoneman? I don't know. The Parkland, the terrible one that occurred down there in Florida. That's the other really big one. I don't want to get into death counts, but there are so many school shootings that occur, so many of these, and it's like we only remember a couple of them. At Columbine, certainly, because Columbine was the one that, and then Parkland, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. That was another big one. That was shocking. That was the one that was most, I think, reminiscent of how we all felt during Columbine. And then Sandy Hook. Just don't go there. Don't go there. You want to spend a lot of time on Johnny Depp later in the show. Don't get yourself in a mood. You're easily depressed. Let's see. On this day in 2010, here's another big one. Deepwater Horizon. Remember that? The drilling rig. It exploded in the Gulf of Mexico, killing 11 workers and beginning an oil spill that would last 6 months. And then on this day in 2021, just a year ago, the state of Minnesota versus Derek Michael Chauvin. Derek Chauvin is found guilty of all charges in the murder of George Floyd by the 4th Judicial District Court of Minnesota. Yeah, that one seemed pretty open and shut to me. There wasn't really much to discuss on that. That seemed a bit excessive. That seemed a bit and all captured on video. Births on this day. Happy birthday, Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, of course, famed artist. Born on this day in 1923, Mother Angelica. Mother Angelica, American nun and broadcaster. She founded the Eternal World Television Network. Do you guys remember Mother Angelica? Oh boy. We used to watch her. We used to watch her late at night, like in college and stuff. We'd just be sitting on the couch, be like 2:00 in the morning, and somebody would put Mother Angelica on, and we would just watch this. And she was the one. She was the old lady that just sat at a desk. She was very church lady-like, but not, she was Catholic. She was a nun, and she wore like the full nun habit, and she used to have this like letter opener that she would like, and she would wave the the letter opener, the metal, like that. Holy cow. We used to sit and watch this woman, this Catholic nun, who just, no one in the history of television gave off meaner vibes than this woman. I mean, I swear to God, I think a good 30% of her audience had to have been just stoned and drunk college kids going, this lady's mean. This lady is so angry. She was snarky. She was funny. She was funny because I don't know if she was intentionally funny, but she was funny in how she was just so dismissive of everything that didn't just completely adhere to her extremely strict Catholic view of the world. She was funny. Mother Angelica, born on this day in 1923. She died in 2016. I'm telling you, I'd put bets on that she went to hell because she was an intolerant, angry woman. Born on this day in 1937, George Takei, Sulu. Hey, no, he's not the Hey Now guy. That's Jeffrey Tambor from Larry Sanders. Oh my, that's George Takei. George Takei is interesting in that he had no career after Star Trek, other than Star Trek conventions for 30, 40 years. And then as a goof, Howard Stern put him on Howard Stern show at the height of Howard Stern's popularity. And now George Takei, everybody's like, hey, George Takei's funny. George Takei's he's got a huge online following, and he's interesting and he's funny, and well, there you go. So good for you, George Takei, which is awesome because that the Howard Stern show booked George Takei as a goof because they used to play a sounder of him, and they were amazed on the Howard Stern show that George Takei had such a mellifluous voice, such a deep baritone mellifluous voice. And they used to play drops of George Takei. And as a goof, they just went, we should get that guy in here. We should get that guy in here. And I'd have to imagine that there would be a lot of people of George Takei's ilk who would not take that invitation, who would have been like, oh, they're just going to make fun of me, and I'm way too serious of an actor to go on there. George Takei didn't do that. George Takei leaned into it. He went on the Stern show. He became a regular, and he got a whole second career. So good for him. Happy birthday, George Takei, born on this day in 1937, born on this day in 1941. A guy who was very famous as a movie star, made a whole bunch of movies in the late 60s and 70s, right into the 80s. Probably best known for beating the crap out of Farrah Fawcett fairly regularly. Ryan O'Neal, right, and doing drugs with his daughter, Tatum O'Neal. Ryan O'Neal, born on this day in 1941. Boy, is that dude a train wreck. I don't know if he still is, but man, there was a period of time that guy did not handle his 50s and 60s well. That guy was all over the road, literally talking about DUIs. Also, his kid, his oldest son, who I don't know that he's still with us. I don't know that life was long for Redmond O'Neal, who was the son of Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal. Boy, did he have a string of brushes with the law and just, degeneracy, just crazy. Born on this day in 1949, one of the all-time fabulous babes, certainly a fabulous babe of the 70s and 80s, Jessica Lange. Jessica Lange looks like the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. She'd not the hair and stuff, but just look at the face. Just the face. Just block out the face. Look at the governor of Michigan, and then look at Jessica Lange, and you're like, oh my God, they could be sisters. Well, how do I know Jessica Lange? How do we know Jessica Lange? I don't know. She's done a lot of things. She was like she has an interesting career in that she started out as just like a disposable sex symbol. And then she started doing like real drama roles where she won Oscars and stuff. And then she just kind of faded away. I don't know. Last time I saw her, I think was on that show, American Horror Story. I think she was like a regular on that for a while. She's good. I like Jessica Lange. Born on this day in 1964, one of my favorite guys, Andy Serkis. Do you know who this guy is? I just saw him last night. I'm always pleased whenever I see him pop up in a movie where he's an actual person. And I'll explain that. Andy Serkis is the new Alfred in the Batman series. And he's not like an old decrepit Alfred. He's kind of like a late 50s Alfred who's a little bit more agile and stuff. Alfreds have gotten progressively younger, haven't they? Like from the Alfred that we remember in the Adam West Batman TV series, which, that Alfred was like a 90-year-old man. But then Alfred, the character of Alfred in the Batman world, has sort of gotten younger. Andy Serkis, I say it's nice to see him playing a human being, is because Andy Serkis is the like go-to guy in Hollywood for CGI. Whenever you need an actor to play a role that at the end product, you're not going to see the actor because they're going to be CGI'd all over like a monster. That's Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is like the world's greatest CGI. I don't know what they call it. There's a term for it. You know what? Here, I'll click on it. I'll tell you exactly what it is. And then I'll tell you some of the people that Andy Serkis has been, who you probably just thought were animated things. He's an English actor, director, and producer, best known for his performance capture animation. That's what it is, performance capture animation. Serkis is the recipient of numerous accolades and is one of the highest grossing actors of all time. And you might not even recognize him if you saw him, but I'm telling you, this guy's done everything. Let's see here. Serkis portrayed Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies, where they put all the ape stuff on him. Gollum. He's Gollum in the Lord of the Rings movies. He's Snoke in the Star Wars movies. I mean, he's in the Marvel films. He's in Avengers, Black Panther, and he now is playing himself, which is cool in the Batman movie. So happy birthday to Andy Serkis. I like him. He's a good interview too. Whenever you see him like be interviewed, he's really funny, super interesting. Born on this day in 1972. Boy, she goes on my list of, I have a list of the most beautiful women that I've actually ever stood face to face with. And number one on that list is, and I know this makes people cringe, but number one on that list is Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian, I just couldn't stop looking at her. I was so hypnotized by how perfect her face was and how beautiful she was. Look, I don't care what you think of her. It doesn't matter. I'm strictly talking about face, just like the prettiest female face that I've ever looked at. Kim Kardashian is number one. This lady celebrating a birthday today. By the way, Jane Seymour is number two. You know Jane Seymour? Oh my God. I sat down and had a nice long form interview with like a 60-year-old Jane Seymour. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? All right. So that's going to be the list. It's going to be Kim Kardashian, number one. And by the way, this all has to be in person, like, because there's a lot of beautiful people I've seen on TV and in movies, but in person, the most beautiful women that I've ever seen in person. Kim Kardashian is number one. Jane Seymour is number two. Number three is the birthday girl today, Carmen Electra. Carmen Electra. I mean, if you just box out everything but the face, because her body's fantastic and all that. She's got all that other 1990s bikini model type thing working for her, but her face, Carmen Electra, you just look at her face and you're like, oh my, Those eyes are insane. Happy birthday, Carmen Electra, born on this day in 1972. You're number 3 on my list of the most beautiful women that I've ever seen in real life. 1976, Joey Lawrence was born. Whoa. Joey Lawrence, remember him? Whoa. Started out on Give Me a Break, then he was on Blossom. He did a whole bunch of movies, never really did anything else. Joey Lawrence, born on this day in 1976. Couple of deaths we got to cover. Oh boy, this is a big one. This is this is where do I put him in the pantheon of brilliant comedians? I don't know. I'm troubled by this one because I'm not comfortable admitting that I used to love his show and I used to laugh because it's so stupid. Because it's not like you can't go, all right, my list of funniest comedians are Richard Pryor at number 1, George Carlin number 2, and Benny Hill at number 3. Benny Hill died on this day in 1992. Benny Hill, as he used to do the thing with the bald guy. That's it. It was funny. What did I know? I was 8 years old. I was staying up late. I was on in syndication. There was nothing else on. We had 3 channels. Benny Hill. Oh man, used to dance around in my pajamas. And there was also Benny Hill was also good for me as I got older because it was, a lot of women with big breasts. That seemed to be one of the, hey, lady with big breasts. Like what? That's the joke? The joke is that she's wearing a low-cut top? Ah. I mean, so, not exactly high-end humor being thrown out there by Benny Hill, but I enjoyed it. You know what? That would be funny. That would be interesting. That'd be an interesting little. Ooh, maybe that would be a YouTube video. Modern pubescent boys watch Benny Hill episodes. I got a 12-year-old. I could sit my kid down and put a camera on him and do a reaction of him watching Benny Hill sketches to see, because he loves Python. He loves Python. He loves Mr. Show. He loves, we have this new favorite one called Auntie Donna, which is on Netflix that we just think is the height of sketch absurdist comedy. So I would be interested because I do respect my 12-year-old son's sense of humor immensely. I think he's got a wonderful sense of humor. So I would like to see him at 12 years old, just watch a little Benny Hill. Now that, he exists in a world where there are so many other choices. For me, it was like, Johnny Carson, or Benny Hill. I would go over to the Benny Hill. That seemed a little bit more riotous. Also, he died in 92 on this day. Dead on this day in 2018, Avicii, the Swedish DJ, EDM pioneer, musician. He's one of those guys that, like, I could never tell you, name an Avicii song. I couldn't tell you an Avicii song. But then you could play 10 songs and I'd go, oh, that's him? I heard that. I heard that while I was, walking through a club in 2015. I know that song. I heard that song at a party in 2016. He was a DJ though. And, I've got this whole thing where I don't understand. Look, I don't begrudge it. Look, whatever kids today find fun. But like, you see like concert footage of Avicii live in concert, but his real name is Tim Bergelink, Swedish guy. You see concert video of him like playing to 100,000 people and they're going crazy. And when I say playing, I mean spinning records. That's what he was. He was like a DJ. And other people would come in. He wrote the songs and he produced the songs and then he played the songs. He's like, hey, this is what I did in the studio. Not going to perform it live, but I'll play the record for you and dance behind the turntable. I never got that. I don't begrudge it. I don't judge it. It's just not, I'm like, okay, so he's a club DJ. He's a club DJ playing music. The catch is that it's his music. He recorded it all and he worked with the artists and he, did all that. But the catch is what? That we're paying $100 a ticket and waiting an hour and a half in line for the men's room to watch a guy spin record. I didn't get it. Died tragically, took his own life on this day in 2018. Avicii. his net worth is ridiculous too. His net worth is like north of $100 million, which I would think, jeez. I don't know. All right, so let's see. Let's get into it. It's 420. What's trending today? What's everybody talking about? 420. I have had a long-running battle with 420. I've been very upfront about this. I do not partake in weed anymore. Not because I'm better, primarily because I can't afford it. And I moved from a state that where it was legal, and that was great, living in a state where it was legal, Illinois. And then about a year ago, when I moved down here to Texas, where it's still illegal, I can't believe that. It was just like it wasn't as easy. It was like, okay, who do I know from 10 years ago that I could just randomly call and see if they have weed? And then I'd become so accustomed in Illinois to just going to a store, buying it, throwing it in a bag with a receipt, having it sit on my passenger side car. I mean, did I want to like have to go back to like stashing it and, whatever, because worrying about getting pulled over. It just seemed all very eh. And then I'm here in the guest house. I live in the guest house of a property of a dude who just quit on his own, who used to smoke weed all the time. And he's like, yeah, I just thought I needed to see if I could quit. And so he quit. And 1 month led to 2 months and 3 months. And he doesn't do it. He doesn't have it. And I just felt like, okay, maybe this would be a good time for me to test myself, because I was a regular user. I mean, not daily, but I was, I wasn't, I wasn't a snob about it. I'm a very pro legalization, have been for 30 years now. God, I wish the rest of the country and the state legislators would catch up with that. But so there you go. So that's the back. I haven't smoked weed. I smoked weed a couple months ago at a party. I was like, I haven't done this in a while. I'll try it. And that was fine. But I mean, yeah, I haven't. I could pass a test. That was one of the first things I did after like not having done it for like, a month or so. I went and bought one of those home weed testing kits just to see, what's going on here. Yeah, I passed. So, because that's the thing, weed stays in your system longer than anything else. Cocaine, you can do like an 8-ball of cocaine and like 24 hours later you could test clean. Actually, I think it's more like 48 hours, but whatever. Cocaine metabolizes super quickly. Like all the other stuff, all the really bad stuff, you can pass drug tests within a day or two of taking it. Not weed, the most innocent, in my opinion, of all of those so-called illicit drugs. Nah, that one sticks with you. That'll hang over your head like a sword of Damocles for a month. That'll stick in your system forever, which is, unfortunate, because that's how a lot of people lose out on opportunities. Meanwhile, they're doing 8 balls of coke in the parking lot before work. Hey, you got a drug test tomorrow? Oh, cool, because I just did an 8-ball this morning. I should be fine by then. So it's 420. And the reason I never liked 420, even though I was an advocate for legalization and somebody who enjoyed partaking in more than drinking, far more than drinking. I mean, I don't drink at all anymore, other than a social beer and a shot. If we're out with people and we're looking to have a good time, then I'll do a shot and I'll sip on a Jameson or something. But drinking to the point of let's get that's just not something that even remotely appeals to me anymore, because oh boy, every time I go out now with people and I have like 3 or 4 beers and maybe a couple of shots, and that's a big night of drinking for me, 3 or 4 beers and a couple of shots, which would have been just a Tuesday night 20 years ago. Every time I do that, the next morning I wake up and I just feel like garbage. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired. I'm listless. I've got weird low level headaches. I don't like it. So I kind of go into my socialization with that kind of thing. Weed though, you got some way out. Okay. All right. We want to sit around and talk and get into some fun conversations. I'll take a couple of hits of that, because when I wake up in the morning, I'll be totally fine. I'll be ready for the day. No hangover, no residuals, no nothing, other than not being able to pass a test for the next 6 weeks. So my problem with 420 has always been this sort of clownish representation of the day. It's always, hey man, dude, where's my car, man? It's always been like the absolute worst tropes associated with marijuana culture that seems to be amplified on the day 420. And for somebody who, back in the 90s, you'd see these daytime talk shows. And in the 90s, I was very big on legalization, the idea of having, especially for medical marijuana use, you'd watch these talk shows, whether they were like Oprah or Jerry Springer, and they'd bring out weed advocates. And they were always like the absolute worst representation of it. It'd always be some dirty high school dropout wearing tie-dye with long hair and cornrows. There's nothing wrong with smoking weed, man. And I'm like, where are the doctors? Where are the scientists? Where are the actual people that are going to show up in suits, speak eloquently on the subject, and actually maybe change a few minds, as opposed to, surfer boy going, yeah, man, if you don't like it, you can scratch my balls, man. I hated that. I was like, this is setting any legitimacy of the movement back by years. And that's what 420 has always represented to me. Like, I hate if you are just hack. If you're a radio guy and you're doing like, it's 420, man, and you're playing like some Grateful Dead and some Spicoli drops, you are a friggin' hack. You just shut up. You are not funny. You are not interesting. You are so predictable. Your show. I just always hated that. Oh God. It's 420. Let's play But I Got High. Yeah, no, let's not. Let's not play that. You know what? It's 420. Let's play something off Rubber Soul. Let's play something, let's play some music that was created by people who are high that is spectacular. That is timeless, right? Let's play something off Let It Be. Let's play something off Abbey Road. Let's not let's not do I was gonna clean my room, but I got high. Stop it. Stop it. 420 is the day. Now, why is 420 the day of weed heads being obnoxious? Well, here's the story. There's the story. So there's a lot of people say, oh, it's the day because weed heads like Hitler and it's Hitler's birthday. Oh, stop it. That's not what it is. The origin story of 420 is actually more not innocent, but almost Norman Rockwell like. It derives from a group of high school kids in the 1970s in Northern California who were athletes and all that, but it was the 1970s and they were teenagers. And they used to meet in the woods after school at 4:20 p.m. every day to get high. And the reason it was 4:20 was because their practices, and in this case, it was baseball practice ended at 4:00. So by the time they got out of the locker room and dressed and into the woods, it was 4:20. So that's how 4:20, and it became a code word. It became 4:20 today, 4:20. And so it was sort of like a secret language that stoners at this particular high school could use to say, hey, come on, 4:20 today, we'll party out in the woods. Now, how did it grow from that high school? Well, one of those kids grew up and became a roadie for the Grateful Dead. That's how that happened. And then the Grateful Dead started making mention of it. The Grateful Dead, to their audience, started talking about, hey, our roadie, 4:20. So that's that. It started out with Deadhead culture. And then the story itself started to be written about. It was written about in High Times magazine. They did like a cover story on this whole 4:20 thing. And by the way, this is going back 25, 35, maybe even 40 years at this point. And ever since then, it has just been kind of adopted. So on April 20th, 4:20 at 4:20, you're supposed to get high, man. Unless you're still at work. Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb, right? You can get high anytime you want in a lot of states. You don't have to just wait until 4:20. So that's what 4:20 is about, and that's why 4:20 is trending, and I still hate this day. Cannabis driving, cannabis awareness. That's it's a new angle on 4:20 day that we're seeing now, especially in states where it's legal. There is a whole lot of taxpayers' dollars being spent today on public service messages. And well, this story is about New York, but apparently California, New York, all of these places where it's legal. Hey, by the way, something that I learned last night? Did you guys know that until Reagan became president in 1980, weed was legal in Alaska. Weed was totally legal. Up to 30 grams. I think it was up to 30 grams. Weed was legal in Alaska until Reagan enacted the war on drugs. And then they switched to, I had no idea. I just assumed that weed was always illegal in America everywhere because of the dirty hippies. But no, in Alaska, you could legally smoke weed in public, in bars, anywhere you smoke cigarettes. You could smoke weed in Alaska in the 1970s until Reagan's war on drugs made that not a thing. So cannabis driving is now public service messages that are being run and paid for by taxpayer dollars all over the states where weed is legal, and people are talking about it. And I'm going to tell you this: huge waste of taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry. I know that in a lot of these states that there has been a tax windfall, and they just have buckets and buckets of money. And this is a way for them to sort of morally grandstand. Yes, of course, we've legalized the recreational use of marijuana in this state, but we're here to remind you all that you must be responsible. Oh, stop it. Stop it. People know. People know. People know when they're intoxicated. How about school lunches? And they're hungry kids somewhere that you could be feeding with the money that you're putting forward. This is so dumb. If you need to be reminded that weed is an intoxicant, you've got far bigger problems than where you got to get to on the roads. I mean, this is just a thing for stupid people. And I'm so tired of the nanny coddling where our tax dollars are just spent to placate morally superior people who just want to help out the stupid among us. Stop it. So cannabis driving is trending. By the way, I was reading all the cannabis driving thing, and I was looking at some of the ads. That's a fairly unique take. I was like, this is so dumb. And I was looking for other people to kind of agree with me that this is a stupid waste of taxpayer dollars. But, there it is. I think public service announcements are a big waste of taxpayer dollars for the most part anyway. This is your brain on drugs. You remember the, oh, God. Is that marijuana I smell? Where did you learn about that? I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from you. Oh, God. Those weed ads from the we're going to play some of them tonight on Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk. We're going to go down the bunny hole of old-timey anti-weed ads. Richardson, Texas is trending. This is it's trending locally, but it was also trending on the on the MS national, fairly high up. Why is Richardson, Texas trending? I mean, a terrible thing happened, but it's Richardson. Richardson, for those of you who are not North Texas centric, Richardson is like it's a suburb of Dallas. It's just outside Dallas. It is it's a fine suburbs. So it's a suburb. It's middle class, middle class suburb. People, they have jobs there. They don't own oil companies. So it's people with jobs. And I've lived here now. With the exception of the break that I went home to Chicago. I've lived here since 2001. And I have lived I've stayed in Richardson when we first moved here. I think we stayed in a hotel in Richardson, and then I've lived in Plano and Frisco. I'm not entirely sure where Richardson is. That's the long point that I'm trying to get to. There is this area of Dallas where I'm like, okay, is this Addison, Plano, Richardson, or Carrollton? Which one is this? Don't they all kind of meld together at some point? Anyway, Richardson is trending nationally. A woman is in custody and facing a capital murder charge after Richardson police say that she fatally shot her child's paternal grandmother during a custody dispute at a coffee shop Monday night. Richardson Starbucks is actually what's trending. So Monday night, there was a shooting at a Starbucks in Richardson, 4100 block of Renner Road. It's happened about 7 o'clock. A younger woman, a 20-something woman, shot and killed a 50-something woman right there at the Starbucks. Richardson police said officers were called to a shooting at the Starbucks in the 4100 block of Renner Road at about 7:10 by witnesses who reported seeing a woman firing a gun multiple times at another woman. Police said the first officer arrived to find a woman attempting to leave the coffee shop with a 3-year-old child. The woman, identified by police as 23-year-old, it's a mouthful here, Trenisia Octavian Tranawatz. Trenisia Octavian Tranawatz, TOTW, her initials. She was taken into custody as additional. By the way, I hope that she hasn't been married like a couple times. She's only 23. What are with all the Trenisia Octavian Tranawatz? What's with all of those names? She was, says a guy named John. The Lord told me, it says a guy with a big, fancy, huge name. Tranawatz, she was taken into custody by officers that arrived at the scene and began providing medical care to the victim, identified as 52-year-old Kentoria Nicole Edwards. The child, the 3-year-old child, police said, was unharmed. All right, so here's the story here. So the shooter, the 23-year-old shooter, is the mother. The state has given custody of the 3-year-old to the 52-year-old grandma. The 23-year-old mother requested to see the child, and the grandmother apparently was like, okay, but we got to do this someplace public because mom's crazy. I mean, the state took the baby away from her. So they show up at the Starbucks, and the mom, the 23-year-old mom, kills grandma right there, which is, what is the idea here? What is she thinking? Obviously, the 23-year-old murderous idiot has absolutely no real concern for the child, because where does the kid go now? Who gets the kid now? Did you think you were going to shoot and kill grandma where the kid is probably better off? And then what? They were just going to go, it's totally understandable. Here you go, crazy 23-year-old who shoots people in Starbucks parking lots. Here's your 3-year-old. No harm, no foul. Did she not recognize that she was going to be arrested and probably spend the rest of her life in jail for murdering somebody? So now this kid would have nowhere to go? Or what did she think? Did she think best case scenario that she'd get away with it and she'd be on the run? She'd be caught within minutes. Are you kidding me? Watts, the mom, had requested to see her child, and Edwards, the grandma, agreed that they could meet at the Starbucks location. During the visits, Watts pulled out a handgun and shot Edwards and attempted to leave with the child, police said in a statement Tuesday morning. Okay, so, I don't know why they took the kid away from her. But, okay, so I'm reading this, and I'm like, Is that what's going on in Richardson? Is it like this? We got this kind of mayhem happening at a Starbucks in Richardson? Because I had always thought, Richardson was like a normal place to live. For anybody that is listening, maybe from Chicago, who are friends, Richardson is like if you're on the South Side, Richardson is like Oak Lawn. And if you're on the north side, Richardson is like Skokie or Niles, right there. It's just like the first, right next to the city limits, but not particularly scary. Not scary. Richardson is not scary. There's 100,000 people. It's a suburb with over 100,000 people. It's totally fine. But here I saw this. This blew me away. So I looked up Richardson just to see, I'm like, what kind of crime statistics are they having in Richardson? And I found this. Notable people from Richardson. Oh my God. I mean, Richardson has more famous people who have come out of, I swear to God, I got to give Richardson a little bit of credit. Apparently growing up in Richardson is not the worst thing. So in the arts, there's a bunch of artists. Don't know any of these people. Actors, Jensen Ackles, don't know who that is. Catherine Cryer, the old news person. Catherine Cryer is from Richardson. Bill Engvall, the comedian Bill Engvall is from Richardson. Deborah Foreman is from Richardson. Well, who's Deborah Foreman? Valley Girl. Remember Valley Girl, the 1983 movie? That's Deborah Foreman. Had a huge crush on her. Deborah Foreman is from Richardson. And does she still live in Richardson? I would have loved 20 years ago to be able to find me Deborah Foreman, tell her how big of a crush I had on her when I was 10 years old, and then, maybe date her. I don't know. Maybe I can dream. Caleb Landry Jones is from Richardson. Nick Stahl is from Richardson. It's just, okay, those are just actors, entertainers. Ryan Cabrera is from Richardson. Jeff Dunham, with the my puppet. Jeff Dunham is from Richardson. Also, look at this. This is crazy. Two of the biggest ventriloquists in recent American showbiz are from Richardson. Jeff Dunham and Jay Johnson are both from Richardson. Both from, what is going on with puppetry in Richardson? It is America's puppetry capital. Another great puppetist, Gordon Keith, local radio personality. He have 1,000 voices, and the funniest person I've ever heard in front of a radio microphone, Gordon Keith. And I have heard some funny people. Gordon Keith from Richardson. Will Schreiner, the humorist from Richardson. And of course, The Simpsons. Ashley and Jessica Simpson from Richardson. Mike Judge from Richardson. Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill. What about in music? All right, not many in music. Politicians, who cares? Sports guys credited with being from Richardson. Now, Lance Johnson, but didn't he grow up in Plano? Maybe very little time spent in Richardson. Or Lance Armstrong. Eddie Jackson of My Chicago Bears. Bust. Let's see. Justin Leonard, pro golfer. Shawn Michaels, WWE wrestler. Everson Walls. Okay, who else is from Richardson that's impressive? Anne Rice, the novelist, the vampire lady, Anne Rice from Richardson. And then you got Marina Oswald Porter, of course, the wife of Lee Harvey Oswald. Man, though, Richardson trending. I was like, oh, maybe I got to know more about Richardson. Okay, that's why Richardson is trending, because there is some tragic gunplay between a 23-year-old loser and the 52-year-old grandma who's taking care of her baby. 23-year-old loser killed her right there in the parking lot of the Starbucks. Moving on, Julian Assange is trending today. Remember him, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks. He's sitting in a jail cell in England. His he had a court case for extradition to the United States on treason charges. I don't know, whatever. The United States wants to get their hands on him, and they haven't been able to in a decade. And he lost his court case. So the extradition to the United States of Julian Assange is moving forward. Hold on. He still has a couple of appeals. So we will see how that works out. Apprehended. Hashtag apprehended is trending on Twitter fairly high up. This is trending because hold on a second. This is trending because some Arizona crazy politician posted on social. She went into a rant on social media, and I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but she said that since like March 7th, 1 billion illegals have been apprehended at the southern border. She said 1 billion. She said 1 billion. There are only like 5-6 billion people in the entire world, in 1 billion. Now, here's what I thought when I saw that. I got angry because why is this trending? She obviously made a mistake. The real number is just short of 1 million. So she obviously just misspoke. She made a mistake. And yet, the crazy left, they got to jump. This is why there is no credibility on the left or the right, because all people do is just nitpick on obvious misspeakings. But then I started to look at it, and I'm like, yeah, but she left it up for like 10 hours. Like, she knew someone on her team, she's a politician in Arizona, someone on her team knew that, that was a mistake, and they left it up for like 10 hours. So maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe that they just put that out there because she expected that the people that she's playing to, because all these people do is they preach to the choir. They don't care about the you suck. They don't care about the haters. They only care about the people that they're trying to affect. Maybe she felt that the people she was speaking to would think 1 billion people being apprehended at the southern border was possible, which it's way not. I mean, there's not 1 billion people in the United States of America. So, as a matter of fact, I think there's only like 400 million people in the United States of America. So 2.5 times, she's claiming 2.5 times the entire population of America has been arrested since March 7th. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So, I don't know where I feel on that. I'm like, was it just a mistake and these idiots on the left are just being, or was this just an obvious attempt to, again, gin up people who know so good with numbers? I don't know. We'll just leave it lay. Student loan debt is trending. Biden administration today is making changes to the student loan program, looking and moving much closer to canceling student loan debt for all of the people. I'm all for this. I find it an absolute disgrace that in the United States of America, we have found profit points in people getting sick and dying in hospitals, imprisoning people. We make money off imprisoning people, and we make money off the idea. Not we. Well, I'm sorry. We don't make any money. The bankers and the one percenters, they make all the money. It's a trickle down, man. No, doesn't ever really seem to trickle down. So I just don't get why we seem to put a price tag on having an educated society when it's really the best thing that we could hope for our future is to have a bunch of really smart people, especially since we're moving away from a world that relies on ditch diggers. Somebody's got to dig a ditch too. Yeah, and those are big giant machines that now dig ditches. People, there ain't nobody out there using a shovel. That's not a thing. And I've always just been not confused. I've always just been sort of, what's the look? Just this look? Oh God. At the people who make the argument, well, why did the deadbeats take the money from college and then they can't pay it back? I had to pay back my loan. Dude, most of the people who say this, they went to college in like the 1970s when you could wait tables and pay for your tuition. Jean Pirro, that lady on Fox News, she's like, when I was in college, I put myself through law school by waiting tables. Yeah, you went to college in the 1960s, you old lady. It's different now. From 1985, okay? From 1985. Right, luckily, look at right around the time that I was thinking about going off to college, from 1985 till today, tuition costs have risen in America 600%. 600%. What used to cost a student in like the mid 80s to go to college, $20,000, is now well over $100,000. Kids can't go to college. Well, tell them to go to junior college. Great. That's fine. They should be able to go to junior college. But what happens after 2 years? Well, tell them to grab a shovel and dig a ditch. I mean, we are in a highly technical world. It is in our best interest as a society to have really well-educated people, to have people who know and can study and do research and figure things out. There are bigger problems the world faces, in our world and our society faces in the now and in the coming decades, than just simply how to dig a nice ditch. I mean, that's seriously not our problems anymore. Because other dudes who went to college, they have created machines that know how to dig the perfect ditch. So, but this whole idea that, or how about the guy who goes, well, I had to pay back my student loan, so why shouldn't they? Man, are you a dick? You should. That's terrible that you had to do it. You're a dick. You're a dick for not wanting your children and your grandchildren to have better opportunities than you had, you selfish piece of garbage. But I had to pay it back. It's not about not paying back your debts. It's about the predatory practices of people who say, you want to go to college? You want to go to college? Yeah. How you feel about 89% interest on your loan? How you feel about, how bad you want to go to college? That's what it is. And for some reason, those interests, the banking interests, the Wall Street interests, the people who make billions and billions of dollars, have been able to convince through propaganda and through, paying off people like, trust me, I saw another clip of Tucker Carlson ranting about student loan debt. Tucker Carlson is the heir to the Swanson frozen food empire. You are listening. A guy who's got a kid who he's going to have to put through college is sitting on his chair, drinking his scotch, watching a guy worth hundreds of millions of dollars tell him that it's easy to go to college. It's just unbelievable how we take positions that are just so not in our best interest. And again, oh, look at, I'm getting political. This is not political. This is not political. This shouldn't be political. Unfortunately, some people make it. I refuse to make it political. This is not about political. This is about having a competitive population. We don't have a competitive population. There are you don't need to go to college. No, you don't. You don't. Not all professions need to go to college. But you can be a truck driver. Yeah, but autonomous trucks are coming. So in 10, 15 years, there aren't going to be any more truck drivers. So why don't they get retrained? And then how do they do that? Take a loan. Okay. All right. So now we're right back to where we were. Here you go. Student loan debt. So I mentioned this, that the tuitions have spiked 500%. Let's see. Once the United States was the first nation in the world for producing college graduates with 4-year degrees, we're now 15th. We're now 15th. Russia is ahead of us. There are more college graduates, more highly educated people in Russia than there are in the United States. Among the reasons for this decline are affordability. College costs have ballooned far ahead of inflation. For instance, and then they do this. This is almost, this is what I saw earlier. A $20,000 tuition cost today in 1985 today would cost well over $100,000. With that level of cost, only the rich can go to college without incurring an enormous debt load. This is about the separation of the haves and the have-nots. Oh, now you sound like a liberal. Fuck you. I don't sound like a liberal. I sound like a working class individual. I sound like a middle class person who's in the middle going, yeah, that is true. Why is it that only the rich people seem to have no problem going to college and getting all the benefits that the college education brings to a class of people? Why is it that we, the working class, why are we always stuck in the middle going, oh man, I can't pay back my student loan debt. I graduated, got to move right back in with my parents. Not everybody is getting those big Wall Street jobs at their uncle's firm. It's just not happening for all of us. Some of us have to have resumes. Some of us have to actually be charming and decent and try and get jobs on our own wiles. Some of the other nations. So I want to talk about this because it's like, well, other nations have student loans. Yeah, other nations, some do. Some do. None have the kind of debt that we have. None have the kind of predatory practices with student loans that we have in this country. None have destroyed multiple generations of their populations through these practices, putting them in debt. And by the way, it's not, I thought we were always about the economy. It's the economy, stupid. I thought we were always about the economy. You can't stimulate the economy if half of your monthly income is going to pay back student loan debts. I mean, do you know all the countries in the world where it's free, where college is free, like normal countries? England, Sweden, France, Germany, Scotland. More countries offer free college education. There are a few countries who offer free tuition in the countries that aren't totally free college education, the countries that don't sit back and go, man, it's important that our people are smart. We got to keep pace in the world. The countries that don't do that, that say, okay, we're not going to make it totally free. They have laws. They have laws that cap how much tuition can be and what percentage rates can be. Anyway, this is something, because it's sleepy Joe Biden signing this stupid thing. All of a sudden, it's a liberal thing. But I'm telling you, the only reason that it's not a right-wing thing is because, again, the big money in the banks and all that stuff, they don't want it to be. They like to make their money off the middle class. They like to make their money off the working class people. They know that the upper class people, they don't have any trouble paying for college. You kidding me? They got $100 million yachts, shit like that. College is not a big deal to them. Get a scholarship, work hard. Why should in America, which is supposed to be equal for all, land of the free, home of the brave, why in America should a kid whose dad is a plumber have to work that much harder in school than some kid whose dad owns the plumbing company simply to better themselves later in life? It makes no sense. We shouldn't be making money off of our young people's desire to better themselves. You don't need to go to college. No, I agree. There's a lot of opportunities out there for go-getters, but not everybody's a go-getter, man. Some people just want to be cogs. Some people just want to get a good job, put in their 40 to 50 hours a week, have weekends off, maybe a 2-week vacation. Some people, that's what they want. Now, to the to a bunch of other people. I dropped out of high school and I started recycling tires, and now I own the largest tire recycling. Good for you. You are a go-getter. You are better. You are better than other people. But it doesn't mean that the other people that don't have your go-get-emness should somehow be penalized. Because again, it's in our collective best interest that our people are smart. Geez, you ever been to a hospital lately? Have you seen the doctors? That they all come from somewhere else. They all come from somewhere else. That should be the first thing. Have you ever seen like mathematicians at MIT and stuff like that? They all come from somewhere else. They all, not gonna be some kid from Richardson. Oh, I got a cousin who went to Harvard. Okay, there's one. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of disingenuous of you to throw that out there, because we're talking about on the whole. I went to I grew up in an upper middle class suburb, a very nice, safe, good. So I never knew anybody who went to a really good school. I mean, and everybody in my class, they went to state schools. They went to Northern Illinois, Southern Illinois, Eastern Illinois. If they were really good, they went to University of Illinois. Nobody went out of state. It's too expensive to go out of state. Can't seek up. Not for rich people, though. Rich people, they can go anywhere they want in the country. That's it. Oh, what is it? Little Amber Wentworth Armstrong Douglas the third. You want to go to Berkeley, even though you live in Vermont? Have at it. Those are all opportunities that are not afforded equally. So, man, we should all be applauding the idea of just sticking it to the bankers and sticking it to the one percenters and sticking it to the rich people, and embracing the idea that we can all move forward together as an educated population, as a group of people who are going to pull together and make this country great again. Look what I did there. One other thing. This was just shared at me. Again, another way that we make money that is just so skanky, and yet we've all, not all of us, but many of us have been believed or convinced that it's fine. John, one of our guys, I don't want to embarrass him. John, one of our guys who hangs out in the chat room, one of my favorite people. I go back 20 years with John now. John shared with me he spent one day in the hospital a couple of weeks ago. I remember I threw a shout out to him. Hey, man, hope you're feeling better. A couple of weeks ago, he spent one night in the hospital because he had chest pains. And so he went to the hospital. Last night, he shared with me his hospital bill. I've got a picture of it. I won't share it with you because he's a private guy, and maybe tonight on Pillow Talk, if he's around, or if he's in the room now, I don't know. Maybe he'll say it's okay to share. I don't want to share it. One night in the hospital, he had chest pains. So he went to the hospital. $20,000. $20,000 for one night in the hospital because he was having chest pains and he was concerned about dying. $20,000. Now, he has insurance, thank God, but there are a lot of people who don't have insurance. There are a lot of people who should have insurance, but apparently that's another thing that's been politicized. $20,000. Now, you get that right in your head. You tell me how one night in the hospital being observed, he didn't have open heart surgery. They didn't fly in the greatest heart surgeon from Europe or wherever, America, let's be honest, Duke Medical, whatever. They didn't fly him in. $20,000. You tell me how that's justifiable. You tell me how that's decent to save someone's life. Hey, yeah, it turned out it was nothing. Glad you came in, though, because here's your bill for $20,000. All right, moving on. Disney is trending. Why is Disney trending? Well, I'll tell you why Disney's trending. Disney is trending because they're at a war with the state of Florida. I don't know. This is another one of these culture war things. But there are a couple of Florida state legislators. They have offered a bill that basically wants to strip Disney of like a whole bunch of rights that they were given back in 1970 or whatever, when Disney came into Florida and said, yeah, we're going to turn this into America's #1 tourist destination. And so the people in Florida at the time went, that'd be a good thing. That'd be a real good thing. Okay, here's what you get. You get all this. We'll provide water. We'll provide. But now, because of these crazy culture wars, um, they're trying to get a bill passed now in Florida that would strip Disney of all these things. And Disney's like, what? Really? Now, these bills, when push comes to shove, will go nowhere. Well, at least you got to hope, because you don't want to crater the entire state of Florida, because guess what? That's what happens if Disney pulls out of the state of Florida. The entire state craters. The entire state. You know what Florida, especially that part of Florida, you know what that is without Disney bringing in 1 billion tourists? Oh, now who's over exaggerating? Okay, well, they do bring in millions of tourists a year. You know what that part of Florida is without Disney, without all of the accoutrements that come with Disney in that, or look at the cities. You think Orlando is going to be Orlando if Disney and all of its stuff decides, yeah, okay, you don't want us in Florida? We're gonna move on over the Gulf. We're gonna set up in New Orleans. They could use some help. They could use a boost to their economy. They'll take us. So I mean, what is Florida doing? What are you doing? You go protest Disney all you want. That's fine. That's your right. You can be upset with a position that certain board members of Disney has taken. But man, now you're looking to sort of penalize them like they aren't worth far more to the bottom line of the state of Florida than just some, board member who thinks that I don't even know. I don't want to go into it because that's the stupid culture war start of it. But just from a nickel and dime standpoint, this is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, imagine if Disney says, we're one of the biggest companies in the world, and we've got all of these franchises. We can afford to take although they can't. See, that's the problem, because they're a publicly traded company. And if Disney announced that they were pulling out of Florida, what would that do to the stock price? And then they have to, whatever. I don't know. But if they were all willing to take the hit, Disney could go, all right, we're getting out of here. You people don't want us? All right, enjoy being Mississippi, because that's really what this part of Florida is going to be. And there are multiple Floridas. There's like the Panhandle, which is, basically Alabama. And then there's like, Central Florida, which is, like Mississippi. And then there's like Southern Florida, which is like a whole other thing. It's that's like Cuba. That is like a completely different kind of place. That's why Disney is trending. Netflix is trending again. I talked about this on Monday. We were doing some Netflix was trending on Monday because there was a story going around about Netflix and their unrealistic expectations after the huge boon to their product that they experienced during the pandemic. Remember, it was they grew like 200% in the first month, because everybody who had never had Netflix because they were working or going out and had jobs were now suddenly home, stuck in their houses, and everything was closed. And they're like, it's a good time to get Netflix. So in the opening months of the pandemic, Netflix exploded. Tiger King. That's why Tiger King was so big, because there were so many people who went, okay, I got Netflix for the first time. And that was unsustainable. That is, you can't, once we opened back up, some of those people, especially the ones, on budgets, they'll just cancel their Netflix. And that's what's happened. Netflix has dropped back down to their pre-pandemic levels. And everybody is acting like, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Netflix was a juggernaut before the pandemic. It's just that you guys exploded and got used to being a mega juggernaut, and now just being a juggernaut and still the most powerful and influential entertainment media company in the world. That's not good enough for you anymore. That's greed. So what's happening with Netflix is that everybody's panicking because the stock price is dropping. It's still a stock price that you, me, your friends and neighbors, we can't get into Netflix in a big way. It's still ridiculously expensive, but it's not what it was during the pandemic. It's another like, you mean I can only have 10 private jets now? What? I need 20. That's essentially what all this Netflix hubbub is about. well, we don't expect any new people coming back. And we've seen the first time in Netflix history that we've seen massive drop-offs in subscriber rates and cancelizations. Yeah, it's because you benefited from a plague. You benefited from a plague that basically tore the whole world apart for whatever. And now we're getting back to no. What do you want us to stay in the plague, Netflix? Is that basically what you fingers crossed that the plague comes back because we need all those people. Ugh. This nothing is ever enough. Money, it's just so the greed and oh God. And I'm a capitalist, but I like to consider myself a benevolent capitalist. I like I believe that there should be limitations on what you're able to do to make money. You know what? I shouldn't just say that because that's not necessarily true either. I just think that when you start crossing over into an area where we're talking about a detriment to the public greater good, that we have to say, okay, pause. Let's pause on this whole thing and let's talk about what your success is doing residually to the other people. We do not going into it. Hey, you know what, guys? Let's check out real quick, okay? We'll see. This show is financially angry today. No, I'm not. I'm not financially angry. I'm angry at the financial people that run this country. I'm angry at the way that you, Will, me, and just about everybody else, the vast majority of this country, I am angry at how they have been manipulating us through propaganda, lies, and basically keeping us at each other's throats. That's really what this is about. The moneyed class doesn't give a shit if you're gay, trans, black, white. It's green. It's all about green to them. If you can afford to hang in that circle, they're fine with you. However, the rest of us have to be at each other's throats over all those things. And that's how they like it. Because if we are at each other's throats, then we're not together. And the one thing that class worries the most about is us coming together on a solid argument, us coming together and saying, you know what, though? Those people do suck, right? We can all agree on that. I mean, just look at France. Look at the French Revolution. That is the fear. So I'm not financially angry. I'm just done. I'm just done with us, we, the people, being manipulated and abused by just unchecked greed. They want to keep us stupid. They want to keep us intoxicated. They want to keep us angry at one another. That's how they continue to have the life that they have. That's how they continue to run things in the way that things are being run. And until we, the people, the regular ones, all of us, whether we're right, left, I mean, like I always say on this show, the vast majority of us are in the middle. Vast majority of us are in the middle. Yeah, I look at things that the left does every single day of my life, and I go, oh, God, I hate these people. And then I look at the things that the far right does, and I go, oh, God, I hate these people. I mean, that's not most of us. Most of us are just sitting here in the middle being forced to take a side because, we're joiners. We don't want to be out here in the middle because it's scary being in the middle. It's scary being an independent. It's scary not knowing. Now I'm getting into some stuff. I want to check in on Johnny Depp because that's a unifying thing. That's something that we can all have fun with. Is Johnny Depp back on the stand? Does anybody know? Let me see. All right, hold on. Let's pull this up. Johnny Depp back on the stand. Is he on the stand? All right, so it does not look like Johnny Depp is back on the stand just yet. So we're going to monitor this. Okay, now, why not? Right? Good time to get into the why this Johnny Depp shit has been so freaking compelling. I've been watching it for 2 days now. All right, so initially in the divorce, Johnny had all the power. Johnny had all the money. Amber Heard is, she's not really a big time. Oh, I'm sorry, April. Let me see. I don't mean to ignore you. I just caught Will C saying he's ignoring us. I don't want to do that. Will says we need to know more about this Columbine high school girl dated Pugs. You were 30 when that happened. We demand age. No, actually, I was 27 when that happened. And yes, so she was good 10 years younger than me. No, I'm not nervous. I just I'm not in the habit. I don't even talk about the women I was married to. I'm just not in the habit of, you know, she was, when I early on, when I first moved to Dallas, she was one of the first people that I met, and she attended Columbine. That's all. That's all I need to tell you. You know, I don't. I just meant it as a throwaway because I remember being fascinated by that and making her tell me all about it. And she was very uncomfortable talking about it. And then I felt bad. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that was kind of a terrible. She said, did she call you from class? No, Will. She had graduated college by the time that I had met her. She did not call me from class. She's not. Wasn't dating on. Yes. I was 27, so she was 7. Yeah, she's 10 years younger than me. Yeah. She was like, all right, whatever. I wasn't in a serious relationship with her. We were just hanging out. Stop it. Okay. By the way, at the time, I wasn't violating any rules. 1/2 + 7, right? Isn't that the rule? Isn't that how we do it? If someone's too young for, or was she? Oh my God. She might have been. No, she wasn't, because she was over 21. So there you go. All right, moving on. So why is the Johnny Depp story so interesting to me? Because in the divorce, it was all Amber Heard basically saying, this is why I deserve this settlement. This is why I did. He was so mean. Look at these texts that he sent. He said he called me a C word and he fantasized about my rotting corpse. And everybody went, Johnny Depp is a monster. And then, Johnny Depp was like, well, it was a difficult marriage. And I think both sides were involved in something, and that's as far as he went. He didn't really get into all the muck. He is into the muck now. He is now in this latest court case, which once again, I'll reframe it for you. They've been divorced since 2016. That's settled. When the divorce was over, they both got down with their lawyers and they said, look, neither one of us are allowed to talk about any of the crazy things that were suggested in the divorce trial because they will be bad for both of our careers. We don't need that out there. Amber Heard signed, Johnny Depp signed, and they moved on. That was 2016. Then last year, or no, I'm sorry. Last year was the London case. So then like 3 years ago during the Me Too thing, Amber Heard started giving interviews about being the victim of abuse and Me Too and all this kind of stuff. And Johnny Depp's reading the stuff that she's writing about. And he's like, she's talking about me? She's not supposed to be talking about me. This is not, she agreed that she wouldn't. So this court case that is going on right now is Johnny Depp suing Amber Heard for libel and for violation of the contract that they had, where she suggested that he was a monster who beat her and did all kinds of terrible things. Now, as it turns out, in the first couple of days here of Johnny Depp being on the stand telling his own story, first of all, wonderfully entertaining because John. Oh, what do we got? Hold on.
All right. Good morning. All right. Are there any preliminary matters?
Hold on. Just for a second. Let's check this out.
No, Your Honor.
2 days in a row. I like that. That's a good idea. Great. All right, Mr. Depp, you can take your place on the stand, please.
Oh, there's Johnny. Look at him with the ponytail. Johnny Depp taking the stand. All right. So he has already talked, showed pictures. He's got receipts, man. He went to the hospital. They got into a fight where she broke a bottle and threw it at him. He cut the top of his finger off. And then she put cigarettes out on his face. He had all these cigarette burns on his face. Oh, it's crazy. All right, here we go. Let's just listen for a second. Cool coffee cup, Johnny. Don't mind if I do. By the way, that's Amber over there on the left in the yellow suit. As I tweeted, Amber looks like a middle school teacher who's on trial for sleeping with a 12-year-old. She does. They keep showing her. She's like, oh, and by the way, that's the other thing. Johnny is saying details. He's giving out all these details about how crazy and abusive she was to him and the stuff that she did. And there are witnesses that saw her do all these things that are going, yeah, she's crazy. She did this. And the camera keeps showing her reaction to it. And I would advise her as an actress to show a bit more be a bit more incredulous about it all. Like, her reaction should be
Good morning, ladies
like
and gentlemen.
conveying
All
that
right,
she
you can
thinks
have a
he's
seat.
lying. She ain't doing that. She
So
is
just a reminder
conveying
that you're still
guilt.
under
She
oath,
looks.
Mr. Depp,
She
okay?
can't make eye
Very
contact.
good.
She's
Thank
looking
you.
down. She's looking
right.
away. She's crying. He's giving all these details and showing pictures of him in the emergency room with all of these injuries that he had never spoken about before. And she's just crying.
Mr. Depp.
Great. Here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday, you told us a little bit about the beginning of your relationship with Miss Heard.
More.
When did Miss Heard's behavior towards you begin to change?
I believe, as I said yesterday, there was a hint of something with the having to do with the boots coming off and breaking routine.
Yeah.
Her attitude, or the way that she would begin to speak to me. First things started coming up, and I was suddenly just wrong about everything.
Well,
If
it is a possibility.
I made a statement about something that I had been familiar with, for example, in my work that I'd been chopping away at for a good 30-something years, I was suddenly wrong. And then beyond that, if you tried to explain yourself and correct the problem, the misunderstanding, it would then begin to heighten as Miss Heard was unable
Look
to
at her.
be wrong.
I did not sleep with that 12-year-old boy.
It just didn't happen. She couldn't be wrong. So these little digs, and it would commence with sort of demeaning, name calling, berated, sort of to be made a fool of, and those would
That's
escalate
marriage.
into a full-scale argument. And in the beginning, as one does, one sticks up for oneself in a
Miss
debate,
Heard.
as it were, or an argument over something to try to prove the point. But when it escalates, and then it's hard to explain, but the argument would start here, and then it would roll around and become this circular thing of its own. So you get back to the beginning, essentially, of the argument. Now it's heightened even more, but it's still circular, and there's no way in or out. If there's a dialogue between two people, both people need to speak, but there was no way to fit a word in. It was a sort of a rapid fire, sort of endless parade of insults and looking at me like I was a fool.
Well,
I just couldn't. I was having difficulty in my mind, of course, and in my heart, dealing with that sort of barrage. And part of that is I was confused as to the fact that whatever her age was at the time of these various arguments, she was mid-20s to late 20s and into 30s. I couldn't understand how I had somehow arrived at where I'd arrived from where I came from in the beginning of my life, and worked for 30 plus years doing these things. It was astounding how wrong I was about everything that I'd experienced within within the film industry, or in just life itself. No, I was sort of not allowed to be right, not allowed to have a voice. So at a certain point, when what enters your mind is, you start to slowly realize that you are in a relationship with your mother, in a sense.
Oh, geez.
And I know that sounds perverse and obtuse, but
Understandable.
the fact is that some people search for weaknesses in people. That is to say, sensitivities. And when you've told that person your life, and what you've lived through and what you've been through.
All right. So here, let's just stop sharing for a second. First of all, I imagine Johnny Depp, if you're really close to him, it smells like cigarettes, coffee, and Drakkar, right? Like like you're smelling cigarettes. And that thing about, your mom, I got that. I think most men understood that. He didn't have to go into a weird, perverse, taboo kind of area about that. Men fight with their mothers in a way that they do not fight with any other woman ever in their lives, because the dynamic between and I'm not talking about men fighting with their women. If you're their wife, if your mom, if you're a man, you probably shouldn't be fighting with your mom. Although, I have fought with my mom, although I'm barely a man. More about like when you're a young person, that's, the way you fight with your mom it's just a totally different dynamic, because, so I get what he's saying about how there was, well, actually, I just thought it was weird that he immediately went to the whole perverse thing. Nobody was thinking that, Johnny. I think most people understand that, gloves can come off with family members because, there's unconditional love there. And then no matter what happens, you're going to be fine by Christmas. You're not going to be, but with someone that you're dating or in a relationship with that isn't tethered by genetics or a lifetime of being together because they're your mother and your son. I think that, you are always conscious of a line. When you fight with people who, again, I say are in your lives, and there's an unconditional aspect to the love between the two of you, there is no line. There is no line. You can push as far as you want because you know that ultimately it's going to be okay. I think that's what he was getting at. Some of the backstory on what you're seeing here from Johnny Depp as he's day 2 of him taking the stand. Yesterday, he spent most of the day explaining why he became a drug addict, why he became and he's talked a lot about his dependence on opioids, his from childhood. His mother would take what he called nerve pills, and from a very young age, he used to steal his mother's nerve pills because of the upbringing that he had. Now, I kind of rolled my eyes at that because we've all had. Look, if we're really going to get into the whole, Johnny had a traumatic childhood. We all had. Childhood is traumatic. Childhood is just traumatic. I don't know anybody in my life that I know closely. I mean, there are people who I don't know the real, in intimate details of their upbringing. But everybody that I know in my life closely, even if on the outside it seems like they were, the Cleavers or the Brady Bunch, there is trauma in there somewhere. There is, and it's not always, dad was an alcoholic who beat up mom. No, there are other things. There are other things. Brother commits suicide, or, dad loses his job and suddenly, you're living out of the car or the van for 6 months in 1979. There is trauma just in being young and experience the world unfold in front of you. So when Johnny Depp speaks of the trauma of his childhood and how he had a father who was not physically abusive, but rage filled. He described his father as having a lot of rage, but never violence. Like his father would walk away from the situation, and he used that as an example of how he could never be an abuser of women or anybody because he got that from his father. And when his father would go into his rages and go off and drink, or his father, I guess he had some issues. That's when his mother would need to take her nerve pills, and she'd be, Johnny, get my nerve pills. And he would go and he would take her nerve pills and he'd give her one, and then he would take one himself. And so he was trying to explain that he was raised in a culture of self anesthetizing, taking care. So he freely admitted that he had a problem with overindulging in alcohol and overindulging in pills. Opiates were his big thing. He was addicted to opiates. He got clean on opiates. And then today he came on and he was telling the story about his battle with drug addiction and how this coincided with his time with Amber Heard. And some of the things that he talked about was how when he had gotten out of rehab and he had these pills, there's these pills out there that people who are severe alcoholics take. And when you take these pills, if you ingest alcohol, you get violently ill, you get sick. And so Johnny was taking these pills because he didn't trust himself. He didn't trust himself to be alone in social situations where people were drinking and alcohol was free and flowing and all that. So he would take these pills. Amber would hide the pills. Amber would hide the pills and then tease him about not being man enough to do it on his own, needing his pills. And that would cause fights where Johnny would demand to have the pills. Now, one of these fights happened in Australia while he was filming one of the Pirates of the Caribbean. And it resulted in him ultimately, nothing to her. See, this is the thing. Nothing happened to her. She made it seem in very roundabout, non-specific ways. She made it seem that he brutalized her, but there are no pictures or hospital records of her being admitted to the emergency room with missing appendages. She picked up a bottle, chucked it at him. It shattered and cut the tip of his finger off. He was rushed to the emergency room. He showed the pictures. They even showed, and it's going around on social media right now. There is a picture of his fingertip just going around. When she was in a rage because she had hidden his drugs, she threw a bottle. She would do the drugs, she would hide his medication that kept him from drinking. And then she would openly walk around swigging out of a bottle of wine. I mean, she was cruel to him, at least as far as his story. Again, these are the stories that we're hearing from Johnny Depp's perspective on the stand, and we're hearing these all for the first time. He's making them up. Well, I mean, that's what you could say. But at this point, I feel more likely that she was making them up because she didn't have pictures. She didn't have hospital documentation. There's a picture of him that's also going around on social media of Johnny Depp laying in an emergency room with his hand gushing blood all over the place and cigarette burns on his face. And that's because she would tempt him. She would walk up behind him and grab his cigarette out of the ashtray, and she would put cigarettes out on his face and then taunt him to be a man. She is being portrayed as an absolute monster. And the reason this is so fascinating to me is because just a couple of years ago, we all heard this story and we all went, oh my God, well, he admits that he had a problem with alcohol and drugs. And, this is the era of Me Too. And we believe women. And look at her. She's a pretty little blonde girl. She is obviously telling the truth here. Johnny Depp is a monster. And, it affected his career. And not only his career. Me and Adam were talking about this a bit earlier in the show where he said, he'll be fine. He's made $650 million. It's not about that. It's about, of course he's going to be fine. He's got to have, worst case scenario, he'll be able to live not having to work. Even if it means, he's just got a condo in Marina Del Rey and a new car every 4 years. Okay, so what? That's what most retired people live. But he's going to have it much better than that. Even with the loss of a career at this stage, he is going to be fine. He is going to have, $10, $20 million worst case scenario. But it's about reputation. It's about reputation. It's about him as a human being, as a high-profile public human being, now having to exist in a world that thinks that he's this monster because of these unfounded charges. And I say unfounded because it is seeming right now like these are unfounded, at least when you compare them to what he's claiming. What he's claiming has documentation, has pictures, has stories. And, he explained why this is the first time that he's talking about this stuff. And he basically said for a couple of reasons that are completely understandable. One, men don't do that. That's not a thing. Men don't, try and get their women in trouble because of their shortcomings or because of abuse. It's just not a masculine thing. He wasn't comfortable with it. He talked about his father and how his father was a very masculine guy and all that. Okay, and that's understandable. And secondly, he was like, I didn't want to ruin her. And that's what we're seeing right now. We are seeing Johnny Depp going, all right, gloves are off. You want to talk about abuse? I'm going to sit on the stand in a place where they allow cameras in the courtroom, and I'm going to talk about the real abuse that happened, not the fictional stuff where you say that I was domineering and preachy and I didn't take her seriously. And those are all the things that she says. She claims that he threw me around and he did all this. And okay, maybe that happened. Maybe. But the stuff that he has documented, the stuff that he has shown, the actual injuries, again, the hospital visits, the witnesses who have come forward. There weren't any witnesses that came forward for her going, I watched Johnny Depp beat the shit out of her on their back porch. She never had bruises. She never had bloodies. She never had nothing like that. These was all just stories. And because of the time that these stories came out, we were more conditioned to go, oh, just another case of a terrible Hollywood guy acting like a terrible male because all guys are terrible. That's what we sort of all accepted for the last, I can tell you that I thought Johnny Depp was a shitheel for the last 5 or 6 years because of these stories. And now I'm sitting here in 2022 watching him and I'm going, holy crap. This is a whole new and by the way, Amber Heard is crying. He's putting all of this stuff out there. He's showing the crowd in the courtroom gasped when they put up the picture of Johnny Depp lying in the here. Well, I'll show it to you. I got a picture right here of Johnny Depp lying in the hospital. Do we? Let me see. Let me see if I can find it for you. All right, here. You know what? I can let me show you this. Here's a piece of his. This is not as incendiary or as, but it basically gives you an idea of what Johnny has been saying all morning now, all morning long. This is kind of how he's been describing Amber Heard. Here we go.
I don't know what her motivations were, if there was some species of jealousy or there was some species of,
she's a beautiful woman.
Maybe just hatred. I don't know. But in any case, the elevation and the escalation of these day-to-day arguments were simply unnecessary. It was not to help the relationship. It did not help the relationship. It wasn't meant to help the relationship. It was meant to feed her need for conflict. She has a need for conflict. She has a need for violence. It erupts out of nowhere, and what I learned, the only thing I learned to do with it is exactly what I did as a child. Retreat. Just take a step back, which I told her, we need to remove ourselves from each other, even for an hour, a day, anything. Because this can't go on. No one can live like this, But why did I stay? I stayed, I suppose, because my father stayed. I suppose because I had been in that relationship with Vanessa, and that was lost, and I didn't want to fail. I wanted to try to make it work. I thought maybe I could help her. I thought maybe I could bring her around, because the Amber Heard that I knew for the first year and a half was not this suddenly this opponent. It, it wasn't my girl. It was she had become my opponent, and everything that I did just didn't fit her. It wasn't. She didn't accept it.
All right, so that's how he characterized her, basically as somebody who had a constant need for conflict, a constant need to fight, a constant need to do battle over things. And by the way, it should be noted that look, the TMZs, the Perez Hiltons, and all that stuff, they have been pretty consistent in their chronicling of Amber Heard in the way that she was before Johnny Depp. She seemed to be a girl that kind of, she got into scrapes. Her defense team tried to get stricken reports of her having been arrested over times, before Johnny Depp, like when she was just out there, bitch, what are you looking at? Like, it seems that there is a documented history of Amber Heard being a fighter and an aggressive and certainly when she's been drinking person. Now, I have experience with that. Now this isn't the Columbine girl, but there was another girl that I dated for a period of time who was really nice, but when she drank, she became extremely argumentative and violent. Very, very violent. I have been in a relationship with a girl that sent me to the emergency room because of and now I in no way, shape, or form want to try and draw any sort of comparison to what Johnny Depp and Amber Heard had. But imagine Amber Heard living with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp at the time, one of the biggest stars in the entire world. Johnny Depp, in the time frame that we are talking about, was Johnny Depp. All right, not the Johnny Depp of today, but the Johnny Depp of one of the highest paid actors, one of the biggest box office draws, could do absolutely anything that he wanted. He was probably a bit entitled. He was super arrogant. I am certain of that. He felt that, he was a god among men. And now he's got this young 20-something girlfriend who's also an actress, although not even remotely in the same sphere as Johnny Depp. And she is living in that universe now. She is seeing everybody fawn all over her husband all the time because he's Johnny Depp, because he's just this special thing. And yet she sees him, leaving his underwear on the floor. She sees all of these other things. And now she's drinking and she's maybe a little bit jealous, that she is not in the rarefied air that Johnny Depp moves in, even though that she is his wife. There is possibly some sort of competitiveness and some anger and maybe even bitterness that, this guy, I live with this guy, he's not that special. Why are these people treating him like he's that special? I'm a much better actor than I can totally see that happening. Now, the way I say that this reminds me of a relationship that I was in. I would go out. I was a DJ. I was a stupid local DJ on a show that on occasion we would have nights out where we would do public appearances and a lot of people would show up and it would be a lot of fun and I would talk to everybody and I would hang out with everybody. And this particular girlfriend would just sit there and feel ignored. And that's on me, that is part, but it wasn't my job. You have to, that's why we always liked it when Kelly always had a boyfriend when I had a girlfriend, because they could sit together. Because they could sit together and then Kelly and I could go and do our thing and spend time and hang out with people. But this particular person, over time, and this was again kind of like mid time of my stay here in Dallas when we were at 105.3, this person grew to become resentful of other people who would come up and talk to me and they would say things. They would just show up and then they'd say some snarky comment, something rude, like downright insulting to like some nice listener that I was hanging out with, and then just disappear. And then on the ride home, they would look for a way to pick a fight. It was just a very weird kind of dynamic. And that's when I was listening to Johnny Depp talk about how Amber Heard would just, like she described Amber Heard described I was just tired of Johnny, of walking into the house and seeing Johnny and a bunch of old men playing guitars. I was just so over it. That's a direct quote. Well, not direct. That's not a perfect quote, but nutshell version of one of Amber Heard's complaints. The old men that Johnny Depp was sitting in their living room playing guitars with was Keith Richards and Bob Dylan. It's like, Amber, who do you think you married? I mean, that is not just a couple. That's just not a couple of dudes from the bar band that he dragged home to drink your beer and sully your couch. This Bob Dylan and Keith Richards of the Rolling Stone. That's the rarefied air that you're in. In the way that she was so easily dismissible of that as just a bunch of old men. I mean, I suppose you can say, well, she wasn't impressed. What, she's got to be impressed? Then she doesn't have to be impressed, but she has to be aware of what the situation is. That is not simply just a couple of old men playing guitars. That is a situation that almost anyone in the world would be like, wow, that's cool. And her refusal to accept that that's pretty cool speaks to some underlying jealousy, some underlying bitterness. So when Johnny gets up there and he starts talking about these fights, they would come out of nowhere. I don't know. I would just be being Johnny Depp. And let's also not excuse Johnny Depp. I'm sure that Johnny Depp, being Johnny Depp, was an asshole. I mean, he's an entitled movie star. He's a rich, walks on water, money upon money, no worries in the world. Everybody's out, Johnny, you're so great. Okay, so that's default setting Johnny Depp, and I'm sure he was an asshole. But that's what you married. You knew you were marrying Johnny Depp. And okay, so there you go. But anyway, so I think let's jump back in. Let's see where we are now. See if there's anything more.
Species of jealousy, or there was some species of
Jealousy. That's what she's talking about.
maybe just hatred. I don't know. But in any case, the elevation and the escalation of these day-to-day arguments were
This is live, by the way.
Simply unnecessary. It was not to help the relationship. It did not help the relationship. It wasn't meant to help the relationship. It was meant to feed her need for conflict. She has a need for conflict.
Well, this
a need for violence.
Sounds like what he was just saying.
It erupts out of nowhere, and the only thing I learned to do with it is exactly what I did as a child. Retreat.
And it's the same thing.
Take a step back, which I told her, we need to remove ourselves from each other, even for an hour, a day, anything.
Wait a second. Is this the live feed or is this the clip that I just showed you? Because if this is the live feed, then he's rehearsed. Let me see here. All right. Stop sharing. Let's try this again. All right. Hold on. Let's get back up to. I don't know what that was. I don't know. That sounded like the clip from earlier this morning that I just played for you guys, but it seemed to be showing up as the live feed. All right. Let's reestablish this is the live feed. Okay. Let's see where he's at now. Is this live? Hold on. Seem to be in another break. Huh. All right. Give me a second here. Well, I know we're past 2:00. We're going to hang out a little bit longer. I've got other things to talk about as well. So let's, all right. Show me the live feed. Where is the Johnny Depp live feed? Because didn't they just resume? I thought we were watching it live. They had just resumed. Let's see what Google has to say about this Johnny Depp live feed. Or maybe YouTube. Maybe YouTube will have a live feed. I think I just have so many boxes that are open from Twitter that I'm not sure. Johnny Depp live trial today. That seems to be what we're looking for live now. All right.
So you want?
All right, here
He
we go.
said, I don't think now's a good time to go. And I thought, it's the perfect time. She's not going to be home for 2 days.
All right, this is courtesy of CBS.
And then he showed me a photograph on his telephone of...
Objection, Your Honor. Also, you're saying.
It's a photograph, Your Honor.
As being relayed to him by Mr. Bett.
He says he looked at it on his phone.
I'll overrule the objection as the photograph.
What was the photograph of Mr. Depp?
Dramatic,
It was
dramatic pause.
It was a photograph of the bed, our bed, and on my side of the bed was human fecal matter.
She pooped on the bed. She pooped on the bed.
So I understood why it wasn't a good time to go down there.
Telling you, this is a great
My
one.
initial response to that was,
Amber turd.
I mean, I laughed.
So did we.
It was so outside. It was so bizarre.
She pooped on their bed and took a
And
picture
so grotesque.
and sent it to him. You were into it. You got
that
into
I
it,
could
Johnny.
only laugh. So I did not go down there that day.
Imagine Amber Heard
Mr. Depp, how was your mother's health during this time?
taking a grunt right on their bed, their marital bed. That ain't normal. I mean, he ain't normal, but that ain't normal.
Not good. Not good at all. My mom was in Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and she was on
Ross
the way
Rubio,
out.
yeah, this is a live stream.
She was dying.
How often were you going to see her during this time?
Excuse me?
How often were you going to see her during this time?
As much as I could under the circumstances. When I did go and get to see my mom,
they thought I lost.
She was pretty much incapable of speech. Her speech had left her. At that time, she was.
All right, we're gonna jump out of that one because I think it's April suggested that I go.
They thought I lost weight. Literally.
That I use the
Not
Lawn
long
Crime.
after that.
Oh yeah, Lawn Crime's got a better picture.
Once her eyes closed,
I want to see both of them.
she lay there.
I would have
for the
really liked to have
duration
seen Amber's reaction when he said
of
she
her
deuced on
life,
their bed.
which ended on the 20th of May.
Thank you, April. This is much better. April producing
night
on the
before
fly.
I saw Miss Heard for the last time. Well, essentially.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Depp, but how did your mother's death affect you?
Well, it didn't make me want to deuce on the bed, I can tell you that.
As it would anyone, I suppose. There was one thing that I couldn't fathom was, I brought my kids to see Betty Sue in the hospital, and at that time she was not functioning. She was not responsive. She was alive still. She was fighting still inside.
God, knowing all this, I'm very attracted to Amber Heard. I like angry women, I guess. I don't know. Just look at her.
And what, excuse this analogy, but all I could think of was how if if she's conscious if she's conscious of everything that's going on around her, but has no ability to speak, has no ability to move. I knew that the one thing, as far as Betty Sue was concerned, the last thing that she would have wanted was to have ended up lying there on a, what, it was like, there's my mom lying there on a deli platter. And it was a horrible image. But I brought my kids in to say goodbye. And we all spoke into her ear. And then she passed away later. So it was painful.
All right.
But there
all right.
was
We don't need
some
this
side of it
bummer
too.
stuff. I want more bed pooping, Johnny. More bed
At least to
pooping.
me,
Less dead mama.
that
More
in-
bed
in-
pooping.
In a way, it was. I was happy for her.
Why was
Because
that?
I can't imagine Betty Sue or my mom. I can't imagine anyone lying there in quite possibly was a kind of a locked-in syndrome. And if she's surrounded by 10 people
All right.
looking at her lying there on that deli platter, if you will,
Byron, how dare you?
I was happy for her that she was out of pain, out of frustration, out of. I was happy that she moved. Not happy. I was relieved that she was no longer in that situation.
Yeah, Johnny.
Though,
All right, move on. Come on.
when
More crazy
Those
Amber
love-
Heard stuff. Come on.
leave, we're the ones stuck with the.
Byron could have gone with
pain,
Mama
with the grieving.
Gabagool, but you went with the prosciutto Italian.
But I was glad that my kids got to see her and give her her send off.
She does look mean, doesn't she, Jeff? Yeah,
Um,
she does.
But it was no.
She's she's a beautiful
it opened
woman
my eyes
who
quite a lot
was
to
a
a number
Hollywood
of things.
star. I mean, not big star, but she was Amber Heard. We knew who she was. Most dudes
What were
did
some of
anyway.
those things that your mother's death opened your eyes to?
Yeah, but she is mean. Mean girls.
That life is a bird song.
I'm not loving her reaction.
That what feels like.
She looks guilty.
100
He's
years,
talking about
in fact,
all of these terrible
second
things that she did, and she
millisecond.
looks guilty of those things.
nobody can count those things.
And
So
I don't mean it legally. I don't mean that she's going to jail for anything.
I have
Because this is
made
a civil case, but
peace with Betty Sue because I understood where she came from and I understood how difficult.
I just
her
hope that she's
childhood was.
drawing poop
I
on a bed.
understood that
She's
she
just
had-
doodling what turds on a bed would look like.
Had not had the proper training or proper teaching or the proper background to be anything.
Maybe
other
she's
than what
drawing
she had
hearts.
been when we were younger.
Johnny and
I
Amber, true love
forgave
always.
her for all that. As one.
April, charcuterie.
So I was.
Roz, duty doodles. That's what she's doing. She's
It
drawing
opened my eyes
Duty
to
doodles
the fact
of the time that she grunted on their marital bed.
Yes. Try.
Come on, another question.
relationships,
Move on from dead
whether
mom. Dead grandma is
friendships,
not
whether
moving the ball forward.
courtships,
This is
whether
all
marriage,
just
whether
to
this or
make
that.
Johnny seem
Try your
sympathetic.
best, try.
We all love our moms.
If
We all
it's
get it.
Not going to work.
Move
it's not
forward.
Going to work.
Follow up about the poop on the bed.
And more importantly,
Here's the question.
if you're going to get out of...
Was the
if
pooping
you're
on the
going
bed
to
the
make
grossest thing
something
she ever did?
Which
That opens the door for him to just start
decided
spitballing.
that it was... Somebody had to call it, and I decided that I would call Amber and tell her that my mom had died.
And what'd she say?
That day.
What'd she say, Johnny? What'd she say?
And then I
She a
very
bitch?
calmly said, "Look, I've made a decision, and I think it's the best thing. I'm going to file for divorce, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to cite irreconcilable differences. I'm not going to cite any violence. I'm not going to. I'm going to state this. We simply, the two of us, we simply don't want to feel as though we have a collar around each other's neck and a leash attached to it, and then this piece of paper that proves that that's true. So what I thought was best was we want to end this in love and take the idea of
you don't just get to dump Amber Heard and walk away a nice guy, Johnny. Look at her.
And that's how
she
I
needs her
approached
pound
Miss
of flesh.
with that. And
This is not going well for her. So why did you go over to the penthouses on May 21st, 2016?
Penthouses, plural. Plural penthouses.
Miss Heard had requested
Miss Heard.
that I come over to have a talk, to explain. She wanted to explain things. And,
all right. He asked for the divorce, and she said, "Come over, let's talk."
So I went there, and I also wanted to gather up some of those things, precious things that you live with.
What's precious to you?
So I went over there.
Bongos and ashtrays? What
have
are
a
you?
discussion,
Shot
what
glasses?
I thought would be calm understanding. And I figured she understood as well as I did that there was no way back, and
I had to go back to the penthouse to claim my puka shell necklace made from the hind teeth of Himalayan Sasquatches. Thumb rings and goatee beads.
Nothing to fight over. It was clear. I told her that
my favorite jar of goatee beads were contained within the penthouses, plural. I had to claim them.
And then she started to. She was telling me about the. She brought up the situation of her fecal matter on the bed.
Sorry, I pooped on the bed.
And I.
Yeah, come on. Elaborate.
And she tried to blame it on the dogs.
Why didn't you think it could have been the dogs?
The dogs weigh. They're teacup Yorkies. They weigh about 4 pounds.
They're big lady turds. I investigated the
photograph that I saw. And I mean, I lived with those dogs for many years.
And I've seen their turds.
And so did Hilda Vargas. She's a woman who's been with me for 30 plus years, from the very beginning.
Hilda, get in here.
She was the one who photographed
Yes, Mr. Depp. Do these turds look?
It was clear.
Do you recognize these turds?
As well as I did. That was not. None of that did not come from a dog. It just didn't.
No, it came from a
So,
hot
Can
blonde.
we back up a little bit? Who went over to the penthouses with you on May 21st?
Bob Dylan, Rod
I
Stewart,
went to the penthouses
and Richard
with
Kind.
Jerry Judge and Sean Bett. And I had asked them on the just in case, please pay particular attention and stay as close to the door, stay at the door, or if you got a split, come back quick. If they went down to the security shack or whatever it was, don't linger, get back. Because if you hear anything, if you hear screaming, you got to get in there. So leave the door unlocked and spring in there if you hear something.
Why did you want them to be able to get into the penthouse quickly if they heard anything?
Because she's a crazy chick.
Just based on my past experiences with Miss Heard, when
Ms. Hood.
when you say something that she either didn't agree with or swore up and down that it was a complete falsity and there was something wrong with me, I'm crazy, and the escalation.
Beautiful women are difficult, boy.
If anything was going to start to escalate,
If Johnny Depp has
I
this
do
kind
not
of difficulty
want to
with
be
beautiful women, imagine what guys like you
So
and
I
me
had
would have to
them-
deal with. Not worth it.
waiting by the door to get in there in case
It might be
anything
worth
went
it a
down.
little bit. I mean, look
So
at
when
her.
you walked into the penthouse, what did you see?
When I first walked into the penthouses, you walk in and then make a left, and then you're in the kitchen area, and then beyond that was the living room. I saw Miss Heard sitting there on the couch, and I went over to talk. I went and sat down on the couch. She was sitting on the couch. Was kind of a square or a half square. She was sitting on one side of the couch. I was sitting on the other. That's
Ross
when
says,
she
go
was
through the
trying to
kitchen, make a
explain
left at the mammoth
a few
skeleton.
things about Coachella and the fecal delivery, and saying that it was the dogs. And I could not agree with her. I'd lived with those dogs. I picked up their fun. It was not the dogs. And so what happened was,
Fun? Maybe he's
called-
into
I
scat.
said, let's call Kevin.
He calls dog shit
Murphy.
fun. I
Kevin
picked up
Murphy?
their
Kevin
fun.
Murphy had been, he was in Los Angeles.
Kevin,
He was-
get
he
in
was,
here.
The
You saw them poop on the
the
bed.
house manager over the places in West Hollywood, and he was also taking care of the penthouses downtown. If any work needed to be done or this or that,
I like the-
he would schedule.
I like the drinking game idea,
girls would
Jeff.
come in, the ladies.
Things
like
Amber
Willette
Heard has
to
thrown at Depp.
do their work, and he'd had a conversation with Ms. Heard.
That's right, Byron.
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Let's move beyond the
All right, let's move
conversation
on.
that
Sure.
Kevin Murphy had with Miss Heard. So after you called
question.
Kevin Murphy, what happened?
I asked Kevin if Amber and he had spoken about the incident.
The one where she
He
pooped on
said,
the bed.
Yes, they had. Okay. And it appears that Ms. Heard had told.
Hearsay, Your Honor.
I'm not sure.
This is apparently a statement by Miss Heard.
That he heard from Kevin Murphy. That's
That's hearsay.
That's what he is.
Your Honor.
All right, if you want to reframe that, that's fine.
Okay. when did you hang up the phone with Kevin Murphy?
Right about the time that Ms. Heard was screaming obscenities at him and calling him a liar, and that he was a scumbag. And I told her, I said, listen, don't speak to this man that way. Do not disrespect this man in that way.
He has
And then
never
Kevin Murphy
pooped
just hung up.
on our marital bed.
And so at that point,
He
she
deserves
was
your
riled,
respect
of
and
course.
regard.
And I went upstairs
How
to
dare
gather
you speak
belongings.
to Kenny Murphy?
When I came back downstairs, she was on the phone with Io Tillett Wright, and they were making a wonderful point of just how funny it was that I thought that some human being had actually dropped a
Deuce. Say it.
grumpy, pardon the term, onto the bed.
Like it.
And they were yucking it up. They were laughing about the whole thing.
About the grumpy being placed precariously on my side of our marital bed.
It was, you know, it was a tough couple of days. And I really didn't
It's stinky,
feel
too.
like I deserved that.
How do you think Hilda, your house cleaner, felt?
And
You had it tough.
I went over and I said, let me talk to her. I grabbed the phone. And
I know,
said,
Byron, just say
"Io,
poop."
You can have her now.
Just say
She's
shit.
yours. She's all yours.
She's all yours, Elon
Right?
Musk.
And then I took the phone and I just bang like that onto that side of the couch was 8 feet long. The other side of the couch is about 6 feet long.
Jesus, how big is this
I
room?
flopped it onto the couch and I was walking.
Well, it has to be
towards the,
large enough to hold my collection of
kitchen
sarcophaguses and skeleton woolly mammoths.
Exit, and then suddenly Rocky Pennington
Who's Rocky? How many people are here?
ran in to the penthouse and started, leave her alone, Johnny, leave her alone. I was by the refrigerator at this point. I was 20 feet away.
Where was Miss Heard at that time?
She was still sitting on the couch.
Rocky sounds like a white knight, huh?
And that's when the screaming, the screaming started with, like, again, I'm 20 feet away. She's still got Io on the phone. She's got Rocky there. Stop hitting me, Johnny, she's screaming in her best freaked out, upset voice, high-pitched. Stop hitting me, stop hitting me. Jerry Judge and Sean Bett entered the room. And as they entered the room, and she was quite surprised to see them, she said, "That's the last time you'll ever hit me. That's the last time you'll ever do that to me." And again, I'm a good 20 feet away by the fridge. And then Jerry said, "Boss, I think we should just leave." And then we left. That was the last
What do you think he was getting in the fridge?
time I saw Miss Heard.
A Slim Fast
Until,
Shake, maybe?
Until she asked me to break the restraining order. Or not break the restraining order.
They busted into the room and I was in the fridge.
And
I
talked
had
to
a
her in
hankering for
July
some string cheese.
later.
Mr. Depp, where did you go after you left the penthouses on May 21st?
I went home.
To another home.
To which home?
Oh, to Sweetser.
Which home?
And
Which
then
home?
Where did you go? Where did you go after you went home to Sweetser?
I was due to. I had to go to. I had to catch a flight to New York, where we were doing. I was this group, the Hollywood Vampires,
Oh, his
we
stupid
were
band.
about to set out on a 2 or 3 month tour of Europe, and we were rehearsing in New York, and then we played one show in New York as a warm up gig.
You know, she always looked
And then we were
bored at
on
his
the plane, and
practices.
we were,
That drove him nuts.
We started the shows.
She was never into his Hollywood Vampires band.
And I was on the road from then, which was May, on through July, August or something.
Ms. Myers, is this a good time to take
I
our
was,
afternoon break?
I was just going to
Okay,
suggest that. Thank
good.
you.
All right, we
Let's
got
go ahead and
another
take our
break.
afternoon break, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
Please do any outside research
Smoke
and
them
do
if you
not
got them, people.
discuss it, please. Thank you.
Because you know that's what Johnny's going to be doing. All right, there you go. That is part 2 of today's Johnny Depp show. I watched the whole first morning one. We got a lot of the second part here. All right. So they're going to take a break. I don't know how long that break's going to be. I think I'm going to sign off. If they come back, maybe I'll jump back in.
Take our recess. Mr. Depp, you know what I'm going to say, right? You're learning, right? Okay. 3.
Yes, Shana. That's great. All right, so that was good. That was good. We learned about poop on a bed, and we got a little bit. Wasn't quite as electric as the morning stuff was, but okay. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I left a whole bunch of stuff on the table here that we run down a couple of the more trends. We got distracted there. Let's see. I'll tell you what we were going to talk about here. Okay. Ezra Miller, we talked about that last night on Pillow Talk. Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash, got arrested again in Hawaii. He threw a chair at a house party, had cut a girl in the face. He then ran from the party, was arrested a few miles away. He has now been police in Hilo, Hawaii say that Ezra Miller, the Flash actor, the guy who plays the Flash, Ezra Miller has been the source of 10 police calls since I don't know, in the last 6 weeks in Hilo. 10 times this guy. So I don't think he's long for being the Flash. Jerry West is trending. Jerry West, of course, the legendary basketball player, the Lakers. He's the logo. He's the most famous. His nickname, Jerry West's nickname is the logo. If you've ever seen the NBA, National Basketball Association logo, which is the silhouette of the guy dribbling across the basketball like that, that's Jerry West. Jerry West was, a very good player back in the early 70s, and they made him the logo because he was a white guy, because he was the best white guy. And they went, anyway, Jerry West is trending because he's very upset with the way his character is being portrayed in the HBO series Winning Time. The story of the Lakers, which, by the way, I am really, really, really enjoying Winning Time, the story of the Lakers. It's an HBO series. It starts it shows on Sunday nights, and it is a depiction of the Jerry Buss Lakers, starting in 1979 with the drafting of Magic Johnson, and it goes all through the Showtime Lakers era. And Jerry West, who was the general manager of the Lakers, and he was the coach in the very beginning, Jerry West is depicted by who plays him? Who plays Jerry West? It's an actor I love. Let me see. I could think of his name. Yeah, I don't know. You'd recognize him if you saw him. Jerry West is very pissed off, and he's trending because he does not like his portrayal. He thinks it's a lie. Los Angeles Lakers legend and NBA icon Jerry West has declared that the portrayal of himself in the HBO drama series Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, the characterization Jerry West himself describes as a deliberately false characterization and a baseless portrayal. In a letter issued to executive producer Adam McKay, as well as HBO and its parent company Warner Brothers, West's attorneys state that the series has caused great distress to Jerry and his family, demanding a legal retraction from HBO within 2 weeks. Winning Time, which was recently renewed for a second season by HBO, follows the Los Angeles Lakers at the beginning of the Showtime era in the 1980s, a legacy led by players such as Earvin Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as well as leaders within the basketball organization such as Jerry Buss, Pat Riley, Jerry West is played by Jason Clarke. That's who it is. In the series, he's played by Jason Clarke in the series, who portrays West as a fiery executive agitated by his multiple NBA final losses as a player. As somebody who watches this series, I can tell you that the Jason Clarke portrayal of Jerry West is awesome, and that in a series that is just filled with fascinating real-life characters, the Jerry West character is my second favorite character on the show. The first is Jerry Buss. Jerry Buss is hysterical. Who playing Jerry Buss? Walk Hard. What's his name? Shake and Bake. Is that John C. Reilly? John C. Reilly plays Dr. Jerry Buss, the guy who basically built the Lakers into what the Lakers were. He's hysterical. John C. Reilly as Jerry Buss is hysterical. He's a genius, millionaire real estate guy who is just constantly partying, constantly having sex with much younger women. Crazy, balls out portrayal of Jerry Buss. However, Jason Clarke as Jerry West is equally as fascinating because as a basketball fan, I had an idea or an image of Jerry West painted for me by years and years of him. And there's the logo, the much respected Jerry West. Of course, he's the NBA logo. That's how he was always portrayed. We're seeing him depicted in this series as like the meanest guy on the planet, just pissed off at everybody. A Marine Corps drill sergeant who is never satisfied. Everybody's stupid. It's actually a very funny portrayal. But Jerry West don't like it. Jerry West do not like the portrayal. Tupac and Jada are trending. Tupac and Jada is trending because a couple of reasons. Now, I said this when the slap occurred, the Will Smith slap, that there's a lot of Tupac nonsense between Jada and Will because Jada went to high school with Tupac. They were extremely close friends. Most people believe they were friends with benefits. But Tupac couldn't be tied down to one girl, and she was out there having fun herself. So they would always come back. But lifelong friends, Tupac and Jada, from the time that they were kids, hooking up in high school. And Tupac hated Will Smith. And that has supposedly always been sort of a thing that Will Smith couldn't get past because Tupac was this man's man, a tough guy, and Will Smith was kind of a wuss in the eyes of Tupac. And Tupac and Jada is trending because a recent conversation between somebody who worked with Tupac, one of Tupac's bandmates, crewmates, I don't know what the correct terminology is, said in an interview that Tupac was hurt when Jada, in the early days of Jada dating Will Smith, Jada went to Tupac and said, please, whatever happens with this, don't hurt Will Smith. Jada supposedly told Tupac, don't hurt Will. Please don't hurt Will. And in a recent article, that supposedly really upset Tupac because Tupac was like, what does she think? I'm an animal? What does she think, that I'm just going to kill this guy for someone? I don't care. She wants to be with him. She can be with him. Fine. I'll go be with somebody else. So that's why Tupac and Jada is trending. Also, and there's a lot of stuff too. The slap, I really do believe that the slap, there was a big motivation inside Will Smith that this was his opportunity to show Jada that he could protect her and that he is a man's man and nobody talks to my wife. I really think that the whole Tupac thing, where Jada was just gaga for Tupac because, oh, he's such a man, he's so masculine. And then I look at you, Fresh Prince, and it's just not the same. I think it's like that. Tupac can make me orgasm, that whole kind of thing. So I really do think that the whole Tupac thing, and the fact that Tupac didn't like Will Smith. Tupac described Will Smith as being someone who makes hip hop for white kids in the suburbs. And that apparently really stung Will Smith. True. Totally true. But there you have it. All right. So that's why Tupac and Jada are trending. A couple of shows are coming back. Barry is coming back to HBO this weekend. So excited. Bill Hader, Barry on HBO. If you don't watch Barry, it is one of the absolute best shows on television. To have the very idea that Better Call Saul and Barry are coming back in the same week. Oh my God, what a month of April. Russian Doll is also coming back to Netflix. Russian Doll Season 2, which has been off for 3 years. Another very good show starring Natasha Lyonne. And The Flight Attendant Season 2 is coming to HBO Max. Kaylee Cuoco, if you like that. So 3 shows coming back after long hiatuses. Barry, I thought Barry was just done. I thought Bill Hader was like, yeah, that was fun to do for 3 seasons, but now I'm done. If you have never seen Barry, Barry is so good. Bill Hader is an absolute treasure. Love Bill Hader. He plays a guy named Barry who is a world-class contract hitman. He trained up kind of like one of these, trained up from the time he was a kid to be like an excellent shot. He's great with explosives. He can kill anybody, anywhere, at any time. Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live. He is just completely the world's most deadly hitman, right? The mob uses him. Man, crazy CIA uses him, all kinds of stuff. He is the world's greatest hitman. And Barry wants to be an actor. And so it's about Barry moving his hitman practice out to Hollywood, where he spends his days taking acting classes and hanging out with actors and show folk. And then at night, he's got to go do hits. It's such a good show. Barry is such a good show. Enjoy that. Yeah, that's it. I don't need to go into anything else. Okay, that's going to do it. That's going to do it for the show. We may pop in again later and we will watch some more of Johnny Depp. Maybe. Maybe. I can't say for sure. I got to do laundry. I got the kid coming this weekend, so I gotta do some laundry. I gotta clean. I can start doing laundry tomorrow. Tomorrow can be the big laundry day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. So, yeah. So be looking for the alerts that might say in a half hour or so that I'm jumping back in and that we're going to do. Oh man, my kid is listening to music. My kid is. Do I? You know what? I don't need to be a dick dad. Oh yeah, I do. Hold on. All right. He's in school. He shouldn't be listening to my Spotify. He's in school. Oh, God. Dude, seriously. All right, folks. Donate to the show if you can. We're coming up on the end of the month, and we are not doing well this month. So anything that you can do to tip the show to keep these streams coming at you live 2 times a day would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget, at the very least, we will be back at 9 o'clock tonight for Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. And maybe more Johnny Depp coverage. So make sure you're following on Facebook, following on YouTube, following on Twitter, however it is that you get your notifications when we go live. And we can just sit and hang out and watch it together. That's it. Okay. Thank you, folks. What's going on, girl? The dog just came out. Oh, there she goes. Licking her. Yeah, she can reach. She can reach, so she's going for it. Oh, so disgusting. So disgusting. Oh, this dog. You have no shame, animal. Okay. So donate to the show if you can. I keep forgetting to say that because I don't like to say it. But if you can, you can. If you can't, my God, okay, that's all right. Appreciate any help from anybody at any time. We are getting to the end of the month, so I'm starting to get that anxiety. I start to go, oh, jeez. Oh, my God. Okay, I'm going to run out. Got stuff to do. Maybe more Johnny Depp coverage. Maybe. And Pillow Talk tonight. Okay, bye, folks. Love y'all. Have a great one. Appreciate you being with us. Hold on. I need to jump back in here. April, I know I have been waiting for the season 5 finale of Snowfall to air tonight. I am 3 episodes behind, and I would have been all caught up over the weekend, but I decided I didn't want to be all caught up and then have to wait a couple of days for the season finale. So I'm very excited that tonight I will be able to watch. I'll finish up the entire season of Snowfall. Ooh, man. Franklin Saint getting into it.
Another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some.
You know what, Byron? CeeLo can't hear the song because it's only in my headphones, but it's interesting that you bring that up because I do often wonder, what does she think is happening here? Because she's just watching me sitting in this chair. She doesn't know that I'm on camera. She doesn't know that I'm talking to anybody. She just sometimes stares at me like, she's like, are you talking to me? What? There's nobody else here. Why are you making that? Why are you saying stuff? I don't understand what you're saying. It's such a weird thing. Like, I always wonder, what does she think is happening right now? I mean, it's not like a phone. Like, a dog will see a human on a phone and the human's on the phone and they're walking around. And, after a little bit of time, they can figure out that once they hear the brrr, and then that happens, they're like, okay, dog understands. All right, that's something that happened. This is just weird. This has got to be so weird to the dog. It's I wonder what would happen if I just somewhere in the middle of talking like this, because this is a rhythm that she's used to and I'm not saying it, but what if I just dropped her name in the middle of it? I want to see how she would react. Like, I'm just talking right now and she's not paying attention. CeeLo, and I'm wondering, nope, just went right past her. She didn't even notice. CeeLo, she's not even paying attention. Nope. So she just tunes me out. There we go.
I can smile a little now. Things are going good.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it's the all right folks. Maybe that's what it is that she hears. That she's like, all right, can we go out for a walk? Can we go do something? The answer to that is a resounding no. I wish she could go out with me. I'm doing my runs. I'm doing my 3-mile runs every day. And feeling good, feeling good. Still haven't achieved that runner's high that they all talk about. I guess 3 miles ain't enough to get it for a fat like me. But, I wish that I could take the dog out on the runs with me, but I can't. I think she would love that. But the problem is that, dogs, if I go out and try and run and get a pace going, I'm going to have to stop like every 20 feet because she's going to smell another dog's turd. She's going to be like, hold on. And then I'm like just dragging her on her chain. I don't want to do that. She's too high. I wish she could run with me. I wish she would just gallop alongside of me. But no, she's got to smell everything. She's got to smell every pole. She's got to smell every turd. We should call them herds now. She's got to smell every Amber Heard that she comes across. All right, bye, guys.
I am on a never-ending quest.